The latest God of War Combat details show lots of promise for an evolved experience, enemy variety, and more Atreus. I'm going to break down all of the details for you right at the beginning of the video so you don't have to go searching for it. This is a longer video because it is a live stream. So if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss these streams and these live discussions. And we always kick off the video with this update. This is a Reforge update. God of War Ragnarok Combat details have been outlined in a video directly from PlayStation in Santa Monica, and I want to give you a quick breakdown and some of my thoughts on what this means for the combat depth in this game. If you like these videos, hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss my upload. So one of the things they started out saying, which probably isn't surprising to very many people, is that the combat in God of War is the meat and potatoes of any God of War game. So they really wanted to focus on making that better and more elevated in this sequel. They said that navigating the line between frustrating and engaging was something that they really focused on. For many people, that might be promising for Give Me God of War. If you played God of War 2018, that was one of the criticisms from the community, was that once you went up to Give Me God of War, there were certain elements that were just sort of busted, broken, and maybe a sense of false difficulty. There are still people, I'm sure, that liked it and enjoyed it, but there were some, from what I gathered, fair criticisms of how that worked, and they really wanted to navigate that in this game. It's not going to be something you can just button mash your way through. They also said they wanted to focus on adding, quote, more mini-bosses, bigger creatures, and enemy variety. They said that was something that the community directly gave them feedback on, like, hey, we want more mini-bosses, we want bigger creatures, and we really want to see enemy variety. In our recent coverage of the God of War Ragnarok hands-on gameplay previews, they outlined very clearly that there was way more enemy variety in this game. And they touch on it in this video. They said each realm will have its own theme of enemies that are very unique to that space. So not only are you getting to go to all 9 realms, but each realm will have its own enemies that are unique to the space. So you won't sort of feel like there's that copy-paste enemy showing up that you fought in the previous area. They also talked about Atreus. They said Atreus moves more independently on his own as a companion. So as you're navigating the world, you'll notice him in this video. He sort of grapples up on his own. He's no longer sort of hitching a ride on Kratos whenever you have to climb a wall. They did want to also get into details about what exactly you're going to be able to do with Kratos as he gets more powerful. They said as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. Now, the each weapon line stood out to me. I know this might be reaching, but if you're referring to just 2 weapons, I would imagine you would say of both weapons. If you have 2 things on the table and you say, listen, both of these things have, red colors on them, you wouldn't say each of these. That's sort of an awkward phrasing. Typically, when you say each weapon, you're referring to a handful of weapons. So there might have been a slight Freudian slip from one of the people in the video when he said you can increase the combat depth of each weapon. That sounds like more than 2 weapons. Many have speculated we will be using Mjolnir in this game, and maybe it slipped out in this video. They also said that combo finishers let you decapitate the enemies and really lead to, heightened, complex sort of endings to the fights. And there is an emphasis of verticality in some of the fights. What this does is it lets you utilize the grapple to get up high, as well as something they're calling pre-fall attacks, where you sort of jump down and slam or land or punch an enemy as you get to the ground. Atreus will also be initiating more in combat, doing sort of his own thing and initiating fights, and his combo abilities have been expanded. They've also taken his companion actions and his magic, and they've given it a much different flavor than you, and that will make him stand out apart from Kratos on the battlefield. The puzzle systems and the set pieces will feature more collaboration between father and son, so we will be back in sort of the saddle of needing to utilize Atreus to solve certain puzzles, but maybe even more than we did previously. Big boss fights from the old God of War game served as an inspiration inspiration point, as you may have seen from some of the gameplay footage, there's some pretty big enemies that we'll be fighting. They wanted enemies to feel like a combat puzzle or a chess game, and this is actually backed by somebody else who played the game and some of the early looks that, hey, we want this to be sort of like a chess game. It needs to feel sort of like a puzzle. That's going to be one of the elements of combat efficiency. In combat efficiency, they're giving you visual and audio cues to be updated to indicate what's blockable and what's not. That makes sense as they've expanded what you can do with the shields. If you just want to be heavy on blocking or parrying, you would choose a shield accordingly. They end the video with a crazy amount of variety. It's just sort of montaged just to showcase how many different enemies there are, continuing, I think, to shut down the debate and the weak, empty criticism that, hey, this is just DLC. Nobody can really say that with 9 realms, each realm having their own unique enemies. And now, as we get more details about the combat in God of War Ragnarok expanding, what do you think? Does the variety of the enemies sound good enough to really settle that debate? What's the most exciting aspect of the combat for you? Let me know in the comments below. Check out Reforge Gaming, where I stream live. Hit subscribe and the bell button on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'll see the rest of you right now. Excited to have more God of War Ragnarok news with the combat outlined fairly extensively in this brand new video from Santa Monica. PlayStation is seemingly, I guess, not doing their showcase. That's kind of the gist and kind of the conclusion that I have come to. I can't look at next week and think that they would try to do a showcase in the first week of November. I'm not holding my breath. We would probably find out before this week is over that would be the case. And the fact that they're outlining more and more information about the game, I think it just stands to reason that, listen, we're not doing the showcase, right? So, bit of a bummer, but I think that's the case. Now, we do have a pretty exciting announcement. We have a new sponsor on the channel. You guys know I love t-shirts, and Into the AM has extremely cool, highly detailed, very colorful shirts. They have all over prints. They sent me like 6 shirts to showcase. Use the shirt command. That will take you over there. You can use code LONO, or you can go to intotheam.com/Lono and get 10% off. Be sure to check it out. They're constantly updating their shirts. They're adding new shirts every week. They're going to keep me supplied. So we're really excited to be working with Into the AM. You guys know I love my shirts, and they will give you that discount as long as, again, you go to intotheam.com/Lono or use code Lono whenever you go to intotheam.com. They have lots of really colorful ones like this. It sort of has like streetwear vibes, as well as some of the all over prints as well. So I think the quality of the print and the quality of the shirts, it's well worth it. You guys know I'm a t-shirt connoisseur, so the t-shirt quality and the print quality needs to be good, and these are up there. So if you like their stuff, use my code. Let's have a nice strong launch with them. We want to look good with our sponsors, right? So we appreciate you guys. Does it ship to Canada? Yes, I'm sure they ship to Canada. So that's one new sponsor announcement that we get to make, hopefully more in the coming weeks. We will not be dropping 80s tees, Toasty. No. If I'm wearing an Into the AM shirt, we'll update the command. They'll keep me supplied with shirts. 80s tees, you can continue to use my code over there. I'll continue to wear 80s tees. I don't need to be exclusive with either of these companies. They didn't ask for that, which is pretty exciting to not feel like, oh yeah, we need to be completely exclusive. I think that's exciting because that would have been kind of a bummer because 80s tees has been really good for us. So just depending on what shirt I'm wearing, the shirt command will always indicate where it's from. And if you want to get it, then go ahead and use that discount. You just got 15% off. I don't need Lono. Yeah, well, what? Legit, this is the first code of yours I'm going to use. We really want to have strong launches with our sponsors. So yeah, make sure and use my code over there. What's good, feed? I see you in the chat. If you guys are tuning in for the latest God of War Ragnarok Combat info, we have it I did it too long, didn't read at the beginning, but now that we're getting this info from them, it really does seem that we are not going to be getting a Sony showcase unless they do it next week. I don't think it's happening this year. There were rumors circulating that it had to do with them kind of combating the CMA and the Microsoft thing, and that was going to really keep it from happening. A $5 tip from Gamer Dad and Kai. Sorry, Lono was late, was being held back by the Series S. Thank you so much for a $5 tip. I appreciate that. There was also a renewed membership, Bazicon, during the opening. Thank you so much for that, you guys. Thank you for smashing the like button. We should easily have 200 likes by now. There's so many of you here. Welcome on in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Make sure you are on live chat. You do not want to be on top chat. That is that's not going to show you what everybody is saying. And it looks like our alerts went out, our short went up for the day, so all of our vids and all of our pushes are out there. The camera switch was unexpected. It was like I hit the wrong button in a new game, and the camera got all messed up. Yes, we do have a second camera. I now have 2 videos recorded of the Legos. Tier 2 members and above got a sneak peek. They got a sneak peek. So if you want to see sneak peeks of things that we're doing behind the scenes, make sure you're a Tier 2 member or higher. Make sure you're in the VIP room in the Discord. They got a sneak peek of the Legos. They're right there. They're organized on the table, and that is going great. And the cam is amazing. It works great. It was another Sony a6000. So we're able to kind of spice up the broadcast. It'll periodically go over there just to kind of keep things, looking fresh and looking awesome. Gives you a bigger view of the shirt as well. And then I can put it on my ceiling rig for the Lego video. So appreciate you guys so much supporting this. What do you guys think? This amount of information, the God of War Ragnarok news hitting like this, to me, really, it continues to solidify in my mind that we are not going to be getting a PlayStation showcase. It's just not going to be happening. I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I think some of this they would have saved for another day, right? Their shorts and joggers are extremely soft and stretchy. Yeah, guys, the shirt comes from Into the AM, so go to intotheam.com/Lono or just use code Lono over there. It will support me, and they've got amazing things. We've not announced the Lego channel name yet. We picked it. It's in the videos, obviously, because I say it, but we've not announced it yet. We'll announce it when we launch it. And I might give Tier 2s a sneak peek before we officially launch. Again, those are advantages to being a Tier 2 member or above. That'll be very, very soon. Such a Sony fanboy that he even bought spy cameras. What? Yeah, I bought Sony cameras. That's right. That's I'm such a Sony fanboy. If we use Mjolnir, I would like to see the dwarves somehow fuse the axe and the hammer to make a new greater weapon. No, I don't think so, Rich. Now, I don't know. Do you guys think I'm reading too much into this? Let me give you my theory on I think we're going to be wielding Mjolnir, and I think they let it slip in this video. I think the guy let it slip. Give me 200 likes, and I'll give you my theory on it. I need 30 more likes. There's almost 400 people here. Let's get it. I want to see 200 likes before I'm gonna tell you my theory on how he let this slip. You might have heard it in my show open. No, you can't use Legos in your channel name, Xerox. Legos will come after you because it's a trademark. It would be, they don't want people to think that like you're associated with them or something. So I'm okay with it, says Suede. I'd rather Sony put out a show of quality content instead of just focusing on one checkbox. Do a show when they need to, not because they have to. Possible, too, that they don't feel they need to because Ragnarok's so big on its own that they don't feel the need to even do the showcase. They're going to let Ragnarok do its thing, and then they'll do a showcase about all their other property, whether Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the like. You know what I'm saying? I think we'll get Mjolnir as a lightning element. Yeah, I agree with that. I've already outlined that. That's not a new theory from me. I've already outlined that. Hey, somebody renewed their membership a moment ago. Ration, thank you for jumping back in as a member, and a brand new member from Hekai. Let's get a little member train going. We lost a ton of members because 30 days ago, you guys went crazy. We are down into like the 1600s on the members. We really want to maintain over 2,000 members. The Star Wars watch party has been rescheduled. Remember the 5th of November, okay? The 5th of November is a Saturday. That's when my podcast with Andrew Schwab is launching, and that's also when we're doing the Star Wars watch party. We were going to do it this week, but Call of Duty's launching, and we thought that would be a really dumb idea on Friday night to be trying to do that. So the 5th of November is when we're doing that. Make sure you get your membership up to date before that. James Carr with a $5 tip through Super Chat. Thank you so much. We almost have 200 likes. When we hit 200 likes, I'll give you my theory. I think they let it slip in this video that we're going to wield Mjolnir. I'll give you the quote. I think this guy let it slip. Smash the like button. I want to see 200 likes really, really fast on this video. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. Another strong start to the day. Good to see you all. If I was on your homepage, awesome. Make sure you're subscribed. If I'm ever not on your homepage, always remember to check your subscription feed. Sometimes YouTube won't put me on your homepage. And today, we're talking about God of War Ragnarok Combat. And I think they let it slip in this video that we will get to wield Mjolnir. And now that we hit 200 likes, let me outline my theory. So at one point in the video, the guy is talking about how Kratos is going to get more powerful. And this is a direct quote. He said, as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. Now, from where I sit, that phrase sounds like more than 2 weapons. If you were going to say, you know, oh yeah, you can do these with the weapons in the game, if there was only 2, you would say, yeah, you can get new abilities and increase the combat depth of both weapons. But when he says each weapon, it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like you're referring to just 2 weapons. If I had 2 things on my table and I said, yeah, you can pick one of these 2 things, both of them have red, I wouldn't say each of them have red. That's awkward. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, mentally, his brain went and grabbed a word that you wouldn't use for a group of 2. You wouldn't use that for a group of 2. If I'm like, hey, I know you like red. There's 2 shoes on the table, and they both have red shoelaces. I wouldn't say, oh, each of them have red shoelaces. That's awkward. You would have said both weapons, not each weapon. That's exactly right. Wasn't there 3 weapons before? Blade, axe, fist, shield? I mean, maybe he's just thinking of that, but he's talking about how he says weapon. I don't think he's saying weapon referring to your fists. GNS with a $2 tip. Thank you for hitting that. Welcome on in. Does Kratos only have 2 weapons? What about the boy? He's referring to Kratos, though. He's not referring to Atreus. They talk about Atreus in another section. Was that person a native English speaker? Yes, he was. As far as I could tell, I was listening to somebody, English was their first language. I don't think it was not his first language. There were some people in the video that might be bilingual. I did not get the impression that the guy that said this was bilingual. There was the black guy with the hat. That's the one who said it. He's the guy who said this. He said, you will get new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. I think he let it slip because I think in his mind, he's thinking of more than just 2 weapons. I think he let it slip. Like, oh, because it stood out immediately. I was like, each weapon? I was like, that sounds like we're going to have more than just 2 weapons. That's an awkward phrasing. If you're thinking of an axe and the chain blades and that's it, you would say both weapons. I agree it would be an awkward way to say it for 2 items. Oh, yeah, the lawyer agrees with me. Yes, it stood out immediately. I was like, wait, each weapon? What? Yo, a $5 tip from East Ite. Thank you so much for the $5 tip through Super Chat. Can't wait to see you stream God of War Ragnarok. Thank you very much. Welcome on in, everybody. We are discussing the latest God of War Ragnarok Combat news in the way of a Sony video, and I think they let it slip. I think we're getting Mjolnir, and this guy I think he accidentally. I don't think it was super obvious. I think the average person is going to watch the video and not catch it. But I was typing in a Word document because I wanted to directly quote them for my show open. And when he said that, I was like, wait, each weapon? Because I know some people are like, oh, what if we get a sword or something? Because, you know, Could be axe, blades, and shield. No, no way. You wouldn't refer to the shield as a weapon because, again, there's another section of the video where they specifically talk about the shields and what they bring to combat. This guy was not talking about that. He was talking about weapons. He wasn't talking about your shield because there's a section where they talk about the shields because they offer a whole new way of playing. I thought we assumed we got Mjolnir. I mean, Wheezy said it in the Discord. He said at this point, he thinks it'll be weird if we don't get Mjolnir. Like, at this point, it's like, come on, we're going to get Mjolnir, bro. If he said every weapon, I would assume there was a bunch, but each sounds like 3 to 5. Right, John, it sounds like a group of weapons, but it doesn't sound like 2. Up to now, they keep talking about your axe and your chaos blades. The axe and the blades, the axe and the blades. And if I'm like, oh yeah, you will get to level up each of those. Each of those? Who talks like that? You'd be like, you get to level up both of those. You wouldn't say each for a grouping of 2. Your brain automatically knows that's not right. Like, as you would say it, it would feel awkward. You'd be like, oh yeah, you get to upgrade each of those. No, you would say, yeah, you get to upgrade both of those. You never would refer to a pairing of 2 items as each. You would say both. That's what I'm asking. Are people surprised if we get it? I don't think they're surprised if we get it. I don't think it was a slip. You think it was a hint? You think it was a hint? Listen, y'all know me. I love combing over trailers. I love looking for clues. I wasn't even looking for clues this time. I was literally typing in a Word doc and he said that and I was like, and I rewound it. I listened to it again. I was like, he's talking about more than 2 weapons. He's not talking about 2 weapons. He's talking about 3 weapons or more. You would say it. We get the hammer, but this wasn't a slip. You don't. So you guys, all right. So do you guys think this was a slip, or do you think they dropped this as a hint? You know about the rules for adjective order in languages? No, I don't actually. All I know is that when I studied Spanish, ownership was reversed. You wouldn't say that person's car. You would say the car of that person, right? Or you would say like the cat. You wouldn't say their cat. You would say the cat of that person. El gato de Jose. Jose. You wouldn't say Jose's cat. You say the cat of Jose. I'm going to Discord for this? Okay. What about Atreus' weapons? This quote is specifically about Kratos. As Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. It's one sentence, it's one thought. He's thinking of the weapons that Kratos can use, and he says each, which is like, again, that's awkward phrasing. All you've got to do is add a front load to it. Yeah, with the axe and the blades, Kratos gets more powerful and he can increase the combat depth of each weapon. You would say of both weapons. It's just an awkward, in your mind, you don't group things that way. At least I don't. I wouldn't say that. I'd be like, oh yeah, there's a red book and a blue book on the table. Both of them have dust covers. I wouldn't say each of them have dust covers. You wouldn't do that. Oh yeah, you want these books? I have a red one and a blue one. Both of them have dust covers. I have a red one and a blue one. Each of them have dust covers. It's just awkward. Like, your brain doesn't go there. Your brain only goes there if I'm like, I have a blue book, I have a green book, and a red book. Each of them or all of them have dust covers. You would say each or all. They also mentioned that you will be in control of earth, wind, fire, and water. She didn't mention lightning specifically, but it's another tell. Earth, wind, fire, and water. Yeah, earth and wind, it's interesting that she says that, because he does pick up a stone, and the water you freeze, because there's some puzzles where you have to freeze it. I think this guy let it slip that there's more than 2 weapons, whether it was a hint or a slip. I mean, it's 100% respectively. I think you're overthinking it. That's fine. I know some people are going to think I'm overthinking it, but I'm telling you, I've been watching The Deception Detective. This guy's awesome, by the way. The Deception Detective on YouTube. He's this growing YouTuber who's trained in breaking down how people talk. he only does short videos. It'd be amazing to have him comb over the one video that I put out. You know, mine's like an hour long, and I want to see what he thinks of me, like when I was defending myself way back when. It'd be amazing to have him break my video down. But something that he always talks about in his videos is you always instinctively speak on the information that you have. It always slips out. Always. He calls it leakage. You will always betray the information that you have in your brain. And this guy uses a phrasing that you wouldn't phrase it that way. In his mind, he sees, when he's picturing this, he sees more than two weapons, because if he only saw two weapons in his mind, he would say, you can increase the combat depth of both weapons. That's what you would say. Your brain wouldn't say each, because it would feel awkward to the picture in your mind. If I'm telling you about two books at my house, and in my brain I'm picturing those two books, I wouldn't say each book has a dust cover. I would say both books have dust covers. You know what I'm saying? I think Mjolnir is too much of a focus. They give it to the pre-order the massive collector's editions. You're fighting against him, and it's like you're touching it at one point. You know what I'm saying? Zubair says, English has set rules. By the way, this is something you can do as a member. He's in my Discord. There's no character limit. That's how he's able to do this. Consider becoming a member today. Or gift some members. We've dropped quite a bit in member count. Zubair says, English has a set rules for the order of adjectives you need to use when describing something. Certain types of adjectives come before others in description. I would say he's a crazy old yellow mechanical man. If I say he's a mechanical yellow old crazy man, it doesn't sound right. Native speakers can apply the rules without thinking, and we all follow the same rules. So we can hear when somebody is doing it wrong, even if we don't know the rules explicitly. I think either versus each is a similar thing. It doesn't sound right, but we can't explain explicitly why. Right. That's why it immediately stood out. It immediately stood out to me, Zubair. I was like, wait a minute. They've up to now, they've constantly been talking about two weapons. You wouldn't refer to two weapons as each weapon. You would just say both weapons. Again, if I'm talking to you about books at my house and I can picture them in my mind, I would say both of them have dust covers. I wouldn't say each of them. That's awkward. It doesn't feel right. Now, if I'm talking about three books, yeah, I got a red, a green, and a blue. Yeah, each of them have dust covers. Now it sounds right. I got a red and a blue book. Each of them have dust covers. Huh? I'm forcing myself to say that. I wouldn't speak in that way. I don't think you would do that. You would say both of them have dust covers. I think they may be counting the shields as weapons. Nope. No. Mick D09, in this video, there's a whole section where they specifically talk about shields. In this section, he is talking about your weapons, and they're showing the weapons in the footage. I'm telling you, he let it slip. In his mind, this man is picturing multiple weapons, and he's like, yeah, each weapon has a skill tree. You wouldn't say that if there was just two weapons. Yeah, each weapon has a skill tree. Each weapon has a set of abilities. That doesn't make any sense. That's nonsensical. That doesn't sound right if it's just two. But we really need to see what this guy was saying about the weapons in the 2018 game. What did he say when there were only two? Yeah, I don't know if in the video he comments on them. Both of my weapons have dust covers. It would make sense to count your unarmed combat as a weapon. But no, you wouldn't call your fists weapons. That's awkward too. He's talking about new combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. That he wouldn't be saying that about your fists. Like, listen to what he's saying in context. He says, as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. So you're going to get combos and abilities, and those things are modifying the weapons. Listen to the sentence structure. Kratos is growing stronger, newer combos, new abilities, okay? He brings this to the weapons, and it adds combat depth. So you wouldn't say that about his fists, and you wouldn't say that about the shields, because that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the weapons have combat depth. Combat depth. Like, you wouldn't say that about a shield. The shields add things to your defense. You can parry, you can absorb block damage and stuff. And it's in a separate part of the video. Your fists are definitely weapons. Kratos was juggling a dude with his fist and no shield, no weapon. Right, but in context, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. He's not talking about that. He's talking about the weapons in the game changing because of Kratos growing in his abilities and his combos. Atreus' arrows were a third weapon. I suppose that as fast as I could. Oh, I upgraded those as fast as I could. They were great when you had to get away for a second. But they talk about Atreus in a separate part of the video. So this is about Kratos getting more powerful. In another part of the video, they talk about how they expanded the companion actions. They talked about how Atreus will initiate more combat, and he has his own combo abilities. So they go from talking about Kratos' combat and combo abilities, and then they say Atreus also has more combo abilities. It wouldn't make any sense for this guy to be saying that about weapons and thinking about Atreus, and then, I don't know, a minute later, they're like, oh, by the way, yeah, Atreus will initiate more in combat, and he has his own combo abilities. They're being seen separately in the video, because Atreus has, they even talk about how Atreus' magic will have different flavor, and you'll see that he's much different than Kratos in combat. You busted him? I'm telling you, I caught him. This is a slip. They let it slip. This is proof. We're going to get to... I don't know if it's proof that we get to wield Mjolnir. There is the sword from one of the early games, right? Also, if you go back, the girl said when you play as Kratos, of course we're going to play as Kratos. That means we will play as multiple characters. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we play as Atreus a couple of times. Yeah. I don't think that's... I thought that was either confirmed or heavily hinted at in one of the previews. Yeah, when you play as Kratos. I don't think we're going to play as any other characters other than Kratos and Atreus, but I do think there's going to be sections where you have to play as Atreus. The Collector's Edition is kind of proof to me. Yeah, the center of the Collector's Edition is not the axe, it's Mjolnir. Like, come on. All signs point to we get to wield Mjolnir, man. We're getting to wield that sucker. Probably reading a bit too into that. No. Why would you, again, you only speak on the information that you know. Why would someone say the phrase when you play as Kratos? What? If you're playing through I'm trying to think of a game where when you play as Laura in Tomb Raider, no one would say that. No one would say, yeah, when you play as Laura, what are you talking about? You play as her the whole time. Now, if they said it in Batman Arkham Knight, I'd be like, oh, when you play as Batman, yeah, you're going to get to play as other people. Horizon Forbidden West, when you play as Aloy, yeah, well, who would say that? I think we're going to play as Atreus, and I think her saying that, I think that's another clue. I think that's a clue that there will be times where you play as Atreus. I definitely think so. There's even times where it seems like we're going to be in control of his bow as like an over-the-shoulder thing. God of War 2018, we get the axe. God of War Ragnarok, we get the hammer. Zubair, a statue of Kratos and boy. What was the question? What'd you get with the previous ones? Yeah, 2018 Collector's Edition was a statue of Kratos and boy. Yeah. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, man, smash that like button. We are so close to 300 likes. Thanks for being here this morning. We are covering the latest God of War Ragnarok Combat, and in their video, I'm telling you, the name of the video is God of War Ragnarok Combat and Enemies Elevated. It's number 10 on trending, 1.4 million views, and I think they let it slip in that video that we're going to have more than just the two weapons, the blades and the axe. I think we get the hammer. I think they've been keeping the hammer under their hat. I think that's the moment in the game when nobody will be able to claim this is DLC. Nobody will be able to claim this game is too much like the last one. In God of War Ragnarok, when you get Mjolnir, you will say, this is a sequel. This is fully expanded. But don't they need to add one weapon to make each applicable? Wasn't there 2 in God of War Ragnarok? They only need to add 1? Yeah, you only need 3. I will readily admit, John, I think it's 3. When they started, I formulated this theory. So when they started talking about the triangle button and how you could infuse the axe with ice and infuse the chains with fire, I said, it's almost like they're really focusing on centering the weapons around a unique element identity, like, I don't know, Mjolnir with lightning. So I said, listen, it stands to reason that if you can wield Mjolnir, you'll do the same thing. Bzz, you'll make it lightning. Also, some of the structures that we've seen for puzzle solving seem pretty elaborate. I could see there being almost electricity puzzles in the game where you have to power things up, like Tesla coils and stuff. Because the one puzzles are all based on water, and you're going to use the axe to freeze the ice. And they said in this video, they said that the puzzle systems and the set pieces feature more collaboration between father and son. So they've expanded the puzzle solving. I'm late, but it's okay because I'm saying the same thing. I fully expect that the sword comes back. Yeah, I thought of my brother. He really thinks we're going to be getting the sword when I heard that line this morning. If you're just tuning in, my theory about Mjolnir got more legs this morning in their video. Could we get 13 more likes on the video? That'll take us to the next like milestone. So during the video, this guy is talking about Kratos getting more powerful. And I was really excited this morning when I heard this because I was like, well, we're just going to be kind of breaking down the combat and the enemies. Cool. You know, God of War Ragnarok Combat is very exciting. And for episode 2 of God of War Ragnarok Behind the Scenes, that's what they're calling this. This is God of War Ragnarok Behind the Scenes episode 2. So we might have more coming, right? And in this video, this guy says, as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. And when I heard each weapon, I got a little confused. I was like, wait, you wouldn't say each weapon if you're referring to 2 weapons. You would say he's going to increase the combat depth of both weapons. So I said, listen, I've been watching this Deceptive Detective guy, and he's been talking about that. Like, people will always let you know how much information they have. You only speak with the information that you know. So I'm like, this guy is picturing more than 2 weapons in his mind, and he instinctively said each weapon. And the example I've been giving today is, if I told you that I had 2 books in my home, I wouldn't say, I have 2 books, each of them have dust covers. I would say, yeah, I have 2 books, both of them have dust covers. Now, if I said 3, yeah, I have 3 books, each of them have dust covers, or all of them have dust covers. I wouldn't say both, obviously, because there's 3. You wouldn't say each for a pair. I think there's like 1 or 2 more videos coming. I'm excited for each of them. I hate you, Barrier. I'm excited for each of them. I'm excited for all of them, both of them. Yeah. I thought I saw some where you'd have axe, shield, blades, and fists. But again, if you're talking about increasing the combat depth of each weapon, he's not thinking about your fists, and he's not thinking about your shields. No, I don't think so. You have 10 opinions, and both of them suck. How's the story? 40 hours? I mean, the story's 40 hours if you do everything. Like, if you do side quests, if you do all of it. 2 more likes, guys. Let me get a couple more likes. Guys, if you missed the announcement, we now have another t-shirt company that we're working with. We're still working with 80s Tees, but this shirt, here, let's do this. This shirt comes from Into the AM. It's awesome. Vintage VHS and really colorful. Into the AM, and you can get a discount. It supports me. You can use code Lono over there. intotheam.com/Lono will also work. So use the shirt command. Anytime you see me wearing a shirt, it's either going to be from Into the AM or 80s Tees, and we'll update the shirt command accordingly. These are maybe a little bit more your speed if you like more artistic graphic tees or streetwear or all over prints. They've got great stuff over there. They used to do gaming shirts. I actually have an Assassin's Creed and a God of War shirt from them, but they don't do those anymore, which is a huge bummer. T-shirt looks good. Thank you. Make sure you guys support all of our sponsors. We have probably some new sponsor announcements coming soon. I'm going to be hopping on a call today with somebody and looking forward to maybe doing something with them. And then the Lego channel will be launching soon. And if you guys have lost your membership, if you were gifted a membership last month, a lot of members have fallen off. We would love to see a bunch of people jump back in on their own. We can't rely on people going bonkers every month, but we are now below 2,000 members. So we would love to see us stay at that level. We do not run ads. We don't disrupt the show with advertisements. And if we want to continue doing that, basically putting on free shows every day, we got to have those member growth. Enough of the God of War talk. Let's talk more about, no, I'm not talking about that game, Dan. Thank you. Well, according to the people who watch my shorts, that's all I talk about. All I talk about is Gotham Knights. I forgot to pin a comment on my short this morning. I did one about Modern Warfare 2 skill-based matchmaking. By the way, if you're a Tier 2 member or above, I did a post for you guys, a sneak peek of the Lego channel. It's in the VIP room in the Discord, and it is also posted on the channel. So that's a reason to consider upgrading to Tier 2. You'll get sneak peeks of things. You'll get to see things before everybody else does. Oh, the mobile game? Yeah. I get most of my graphic shirts from Into the AM. Well, now you can support me if you buy anything from Into the AM, intotheam.com/Lono, or just use code Lono over there. Appreciate you guys. I didn't play the last God of War. If you had to sell its combat, how would you? Okay, so God of War 2018, the combat, I will tell you it's a slow burn. It starts out rough because you don't have any abilities. So it can be a bit of a... You're just punching meat shields is what it feels like. I think it quickly evolves and turns into a really, really great time. There's so many different things you can try. There's so many different abilities and builds. Once you start chaining those things together, it's a blast. It's an absolute blast. Now, the harder fights and the harder difficulties are probably worthy of criticism. So I did like this one line from the video. So the latest video about God of War Ragnarok Combat, they said they wanted to navigate the line between frustrating and engaging. Now, I don't think that's them directly speaking to some of the issues that people had with the previous game, but I do think that they were thinking about that when they made some of these changes. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're trying to navigate the line between frustrating and engaging, that was one of the primary things that irritated people with the last game, was the harder difficulties weren't truly difficult. They were just frustrating. What about the 60 FPS mode? There's going to be 4 different performance modes. We covered that it was included in my coverage on Monday, I believe. So yeah, there's 4 different modes that you can use. There's a 120 mode. I don't know if the 120 mode will be 1080. They've not said that, Mac. No one has said that the 120 mode is 1080. I'm pretty confident that when I turned on the 120 mode in Modern Warfare 2, it didn't drop my game to 1080. I would have noticed that. I was playing on like one of the best TVs in the market. I don't necessarily think 120 dictates or necessitates 1080. That's a presumption that they have not stated. And I am very confident that's not happening in MW2 when I turn on the 120 mode. 1080, 120, 1440, 60, and 4K 40. And then there's also a 4K 30. There's a 4K 30. Again, I didn't see anybody saying 1080, 120. I'm confident God of War Ragnarok will be dynamic 1440. Yeah, I think it's going to be 1440 dynamic, so it may dip, but it's not going to be 1080. Again, I'm confident that when I did it in Modern Warfare 2, it didn't drop my dadgum game to 1080. I'd have noticed that. Modern Warfare 2 is like 1500-ish at 120. Yeah, if they can do it, then I think Ragnarok can run 1440 dynamic. One of the Digital Foundry guys said it was higher than 1080 for 120. Okay. God of War hard mode has always been frustrating. Yeah, give me God of War is the highest difficulty. So if you're not familiar with God of War gameplay, you will be able to turn it all the way up to give me God of War. And that is where things get a little crazy. I remember the most common critique I heard of that was that the enemy's healing was kind of bonkers. On Twitter, one of the developers said it's going to be higher than 1080, replying to someone's post. Okay. Yeah, I thought, listen, if there's one thing we know about Santa Monica, I don't think they would push out a 120 mode if it required it to be 1080 all the time. I don't think they would do that. They'd be like, why do we don't want our game to look like that. You know what I mean? God of War Ragnarok, not many people or NT, low resolution. I don't know what you're saying. A $5 tip from East Coast Overlord. Even if it's 1080 120, that's a great setting to play on. The contrast between this and Gotham Knights is absurd. Well, right, yeah, Plague Tale Requiem and Gotham Knights, guys, yeah, these consoles are just too weak. And then MW2 and Ragnarok are walking out just looking amazing. Callisto said they're going to have a performance mode. Anybody that was saying that, I wouldn't trust people like that. They were just running to a made-up excuse to defend poorly optimized garbage. 8 months from Suede, starting the countdown for another I Was Right stream when Kratos can wield Mjolnir. Why? I don't know if I'll do an I Told You So. Thank you for 8 months, Suede. I don't think I'll do an I'll Told You So for Mjolnir, because it's like, come on. Tons of people have been saying, I bet we get to wield Mjolnir. I bet we get Thor's hammer. So I'm not going to put that giant feather in my cap. But I caught it this morning in the video. If you guys haven't heard, during the God of War Ragnarok Combat video that they put out, it's number 10 on trending right now on YouTube. During that video, I think that they let it slip that we'll be using more than 2 weapons in the game. There's a section where a guy is talking about Kratos getting stronger, and I think I caught him. I think I caught a little slip, a little verbiage leakage, right? He said as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. Increasing the combat depth of each weapon is a phrase. In the way I'm looking at this is he's picturing multiple weapons in his mind. He's not picturing 2. Because if he was picturing 2 weapons, he would say you can increase the combat depth of both weapons. That's where I'm hanging my hat on that theory. That he let it slip. He let it slip. Or some people think it wasn't a slip. They think, no, they did that on purpose. That was a clue. I don't know if you haven't played any other God of Wars, but Keaton always wielded multiple weapons in game. It's a given that he will have the hammer. He had Zeus's sword in older titles. Doesn't Odin have to empower someone to wield Mjolnir? That's Marvel. That's like a Marvel thing. I don't think that Kratos needs to be given the ability to wield it. I think you just need to be really strong. Norse mythology does not always necessitate that only Thor can wield the hammer. That's an MCU thing as far as I know. Marvel Cinematic Universe created this story arc for Thor. Well, maybe it's in the comics too. It might not just be in the MCU. But Marvel created this idea that he was worthy of the hammer, and that was something that Odin did. I don't necessarily think that that's in any of the actual Norse mythology. Waiting for Kratos to be added to the MCU. CD Projekt Red has unveiled Canis Majoris, a full remake of the original Witcher game. That's what Canis Majoris is. There you go. Doing an update on that later. God of War 2018, they told us explicitly that a frost giant stole Thor's hammer, so Odin is not really required to wield the hammer. There you go. In 2018 God of War, there's a mural that shows a giant wielding Mjolnir. Okay, so 2 people making that point. Could they mean shields? Jeremy, I don't think the quotation is about shields, and I'll tell you why. The video is very broken up. This was the section they were talking about your weapons and your combat. There's a separate section about the shields. There's a separate section about Atreus and what Atreus is going to be able to do. So I don't think this guy is saying each weapon is going to have increased combat depth, and he's thinking about, like, your shields and Atreus, because those are in separate parts of the video. He specifically mentions Kratos, and he's specifically talking about that, specifically talking about Kratos' weapons, like what he's wielding in the game. I don't think he's referring to fists or shields or Atreus. The being worthy of wielding the hammer bit is something made up by Marvel. In Norse mythos, even Thor had to wear a strength belt to wield it. In the comics, they added if he was the worthy verbiage. Right. They also made Thor look really handsome and strong and not fat and not a fat drunkard. Have you talked about how obviously the combat was evolved? Well, I ended my show open. I basically said anybody holding on to the corpse of an argument that, like, this doesn't really look like a sequel and I just don't think they did enough. I think those people are going to slowly shut up and go away. Because I don't think you can watch this video and be like, oh yeah, they didn't do enough, or oh yeah, it still kind of looks like DLC, or oh yeah, it's a little too familiar to the previous game. No. The montage at the end was all I needed. At the end of the video, right? Let me just show you guys just the end of the video. Right here. So there's this section where they show, oops, I was doing reaction content last night. I reacted to that horrible Modern Warfare 2 review from IGN. Look forward to watching that one later. Watch this. This is just a montage of enemy variety. Just a constant barrage. This guy says something, and then here it comes. Here comes the montage of variety. I was a little early. Hang on. I think it's from this point on, maybe. Nope. Sorry. There we go. Punching a centaur in the butt. Punch that guy. Whip these guys. Smack that person. Pull that person. Hit this guy. Oh, his head's gone. You see what I'm saying? They really wanted to drive home that we upped the variety. And one of the previews, I think it was Game Informer, said they faced more enemy variety in the first 5 hours than they did in the entire last game. Kill You with 22 months of membership. Yo, man, you the best. Thanks for the best show on YouTube. Get this man back to 2,000 subs. Yo, Kill You's asking you guys to get the membership count back to 2,000. We're in like the 1,600s right now. Hemulin says, let's take your book analogy. You'd say both of these books are hardbacks, not each of. And you would say each of these books are by different authors, not both. It's dependent on context. No, I don't think I would say each. I'd say, yeah, both of these books are by different authors. Anytime I'm referring to a pair, I'm not going to say each. Right? You know? All right, yeah, I got two books on the table. Both of them are green, and both of them are by different authors. I wouldn't say both are green and each are by a different author. Like, I don't think, again, it's a linguistic thing, so it depends on where you're from. It depends on where you're from, but I'm telling you, I would say, oh yeah, they're both green, but they're both by different authors. Like, it's not the same book. Comboing between shields, grapple attacks, axe, etc. is going to be so satisfying. If you are speaking of value, price, for example, you would say each book is worth the price. I'm telling you, when you visualize two items in your mind, I don't do that. Yeah, both books are worth it. Yeah, dude, I would buy both. They're both worth the 20. They're both worth the $20. Get both. Both are awesome. Both sets are great. Both sets are worth the price. I wouldn't say, yeah, they're definitely worth it. Each one is worth it. Each set is worth it. It just automatically, oh, I have two books. They are $20 each. Oh, well, yes. Once you're because you're separating them when you do that. You would say that about you would say that about anything. Oh yeah, it's $20 each because you're set. That's a visual picture of separation. It's $20 each. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you just, I'm telling you, when the way this guy phrases it, listen to the phrasing. Listen to the phrasing. Creature might be agreeing with me. I can't tell. He says, as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to newer combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. If you're only increasing the combat depth of two weapons, he would just say, yeah, you're going to get the combos and the new abilities that increase the combat depth of both weapons. I'm telling you, you wouldn't say that. If you're picturing in your mind two weapons, each can be two. each end of the hallway. I'm not saying that each is grammatically incorrect. I'm saying that it sounds awkward. I'm saying that it sounds awkward. The phrasing is strange. I'm not saying that it's grammatically incorrect. You can say each, and it's grammatically correct. You're not breaking a rule, but it sounds really awkward to refer to two items in that way. People are reading too much into this new DLC. Well, with your username and your avatar, I don't think you're going to last here very long. It's not that it's wrong, it's just not natural to native English speakers, which is why your brain had a record scratch moment. Like, I'm seeing freaking dragons. Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. It's like there's something off. It's like there's this dissonance in the phrasing. It's like, what? As soon as he said it, I immediately stopped. I was like, wait, what? Each weapon? Wait, you're referring to two weapons this entire time. Yeah, you're going to be able to increase the ability of each weapon. Don't you mean both? He's not talking about Atreus, though. He's not talking about Atreus. They talk about Atreus later. This is about the weapons that Kratos can increase. He says Kratos will get more powerful. He'll get access to new combos and abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. Kratos getting stronger and getting new combos and abilities isn't going to do anything to Atreus, because down here it says Atreus will initiate more in combat on his own, and he has his own combo abilities. So Atreus has his own stuff that he's leveling up. Increasing Kratos' abilities and combos doesn't do anything to Atreus. Atreus has his own stuff and his own skills. Even in God of War 2018, they're totally separate. They're viewed as separate. He uses his shield as a weapon. He's not talking about the shields in this section. There's a completely separate section about the shields. There's a totally different section where they talk about the shields. In this specific section, he is talking about new combos and abilities that increase combat depth of the weapons. He would not say that and refer to a shield. The shield's not a weapon. The shield is a shield. The shield can parry. It can absorb blocks. The shields even have their own things that you can do, their own abilities. They have nothing to do with the weapons. They have nothing to do with combat depth of each weapon. I just don't think that you would say that. The shield is used as a weapon. It can attack. No, it cannot. It can stun or blast. He's not talking about that in this section. You're trying to jam something into this section that they're not talking about. He is specifically talking about Kratos getting stronger and changing what the weapons can do. There's a whole other section where they talk about the shields. You're trying to jam it together to be like, no, he's not talking about the weapons. He's talking about the weapons and the shields. No, there's a section where they specifically talk about the shields. Again, in this guy's mind, he's not picturing the shields. He's picturing the weapons. Listen, you expect me to believe that this guy said this, and in his mind, he is classifying shields as a weapon. Just because you can be pedantic and say, well, you can attack with the shield, it's not classified as a weapon in anybody's mind. If I asked you, how many weapons can you wield in 2018? You wouldn't say, well, 3, because you can kind of use the shield. No, you'd say 2. You would say the axe and the blades. Nobody would answer that question about 2018 and like pedantically adjust their glasses and be like, well, the shield. No, nobody thinks of the shield as a weapon, even though at some level it can be used as a weapon. Nobody thinks of it as a weapon. It's a shield. I love a pedantic argument. Each use of both words works. They can be functionally synonymous, either or, both, each. Anyone trying to change up the verbiage could use both phrasings. Each formulation. Well, right. I'm saying it just, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, this guy's not thinking of two weapons. This guy's not thinking of two weapons. He is thinking of multiple weapons when he says this. Would it be too out of the box to think that the Blade of Olympus could come into play somehow? My brother and a couple other people have said, maybe we get our sword back. There have been people that have said that. Yeah. You're twisting the words to fit your theory? No, I'm not. You're twisting categories to take down the theory. You're pedantically creating a category for shields that doesn't exist. You're telling me that the developer of the game is talking about Kratos and his weapons, and he's thinking about shields too, when in a completely separate part of the video, they talk about what shields bring to the table. They literally separate them. We're talking about weapons and things you can do with the weapons, and then we're talking about shields. And you're like, yeah, well, I want to take down Lono's theory. So when they're talking about the weapons, they're also talking about shields. No, you're being pedantic. It doesn't fit in the video for him to be talking about shields because they separate them categorically in the video. I'm not twisting anything. He's specifically outlining what you're going to be able to do as you get stronger, new abilities and combos, and your weapons. And then a little while later, they talk about the shields. And then a little while later, they talk about Atreus and what Atreus can do. And you want to be like, no, that section was about the shield and your fists and Atreus' bow. And it's like, no. The plain read of it is this guy's talking about the weapons in the game. And the way he phrases it, it sounds like you're going to be able to use more than 2 weapons. If you think they aren't going to add at least one major weapon, you haven't played a video game sequel. Right, that's the point, is up to now there's been speculation about whether or not we'll wield Mjolnir. There's been speculation about whether or not we'll get to add another weapon to our arsenal. And then this guy says this sentence, and I'm like, that sounds like more than 2 weapons. And it's not said in the context of Atreus. It's not said in the context of your fists or your shields. It's specifically talking about weapons. You're putting words in their mouths. No, I'm not. So because he mentions a shield earlier, he can't refer to it again. Nope, didn't say that. Talk about putting words in people's mouths. They are breaking things up categorically. They're going through all the things Kratos can do. So they start out by talking about the meat and potatoes is combat. We don't want it to be too frustrating. We also want it to be engaging. Mini bosses, bigger creatures, more enemy variety. Each realm is going to have its own unique enemies specific to that space. And then they talk about how Atreus is going to move more independently, like he's not going to hitch a ride on your back anymore. Then they talk about Kratos. Kratos is going to get more powerful, right? He's going to be able to get new combos, new abilities, and then those are going to increase the depth of each weapon. Then they talk about an emphasis on verticality. Then they talk about the grapple and pre-falling. Then they talk about Atreus. Then they talk about the shields. Like, it's all broken apart. So this one time they talk about the weapons, I'm not the one trying to twist their words. You're trying to claim like, oh yeah, when they talk about the weapons, they're including fists, shield, and bow. Even though those things are talked about later, they're also here. I'm reading it at face value. It's like bullet points. That's how the video moves. It's almost like bullet points. They're moving from each category to the next. Taken at face value, it's like, well, yeah, he's talking about the weapons that Kratos gets to wield, and his phrase doesn't line up with only 2 weapons. It doesn't make any sense. It's not that it's grammatically incorrect. It just sounds awkward. For those of you that wonder what we're debating, this is the quote in question. The guy says, as Kratos gets more powerful, he's going to have access to new combos and new abilities that increase the combat depth of each weapon. And I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like he's referring to more than 2 weapons. I'm saying he could be, you're saying he definitely is. No, I'm not. You are once again putting words in my mouth. You're really bad at this, and it's frustrating to have somebody consistently misrepresent what I'm saying. I didn't say he definitely is. I said it sounds like he's referring to more than 2 weapons. I'm theorizing. I've said multiple times this is theory. Theory is not definite by definition. A theory can't be definite. Stop moving the goalposts and saying things that I haven't said. I didn't say that. I didn't say, oh, he's definitely talking about Mjolnir. I even caught myself. I said, it doesn't necessarily prove Mjolnir. There could be another weapon in the game that we get to wield. That could be the sword. It could literally just mean nothing. It could mean nothing. But I'm telling you, the way he phrased it, it's like, it immediately sounded awkward to me. Because every time they've done these videos, another thing that hurts your theory, every time your pushback on my theory, every time they've done these videos, they've consistently talked about the weapons that you can wield. And what do they talk about? The blades and the axe. And then they separately start talking about all the new things they did with shields. So they separate them in everything up to this point. Here's your weapons that you can wield. Here's new things we did to the weapons. Oh, and here's new things we did with the shields. They're separate categories. You're trying to fuse those categories. I'm like, no. All of their coverage up to now, their blogs, their videos, these things have been separated because they're trying to show this is what we did to make the weapons cooler. This is what we did to make the shields cooler. They're not the same category. In any case, I wouldn't bank on one word in one sentence, the OG blades being the big reveal of 2018, and one remaining missing OG weapon, the blade, not yet back. That seems like a stronger argument. No, I think Mjolnir is the stronger argument because you get Mjolnir when you pre-order the collector's edition, and Mjolnir has been at the center of so many of the trailers. Mjolnir is in the first teaser. The first teaser of this game or expansion was Mjolnir. And then when they finally show Thor, what happens? Mjolnir and the axe hit. Bink! And oh, look, they both can recall them in a similar fashion. Huh. Two titans are going to go to war with their amazing weapons. Like, I don't think the sword makes any sense. You're going to draw all this attention to Mjolnir and be like, looky-loo, haha, here's a sword. I don't think so. I think Mjolnir is at the center of so much. And I'm not hanging everything on one word. We have many pieces to our theory about Mjolnir. First and foremost, it was noticed that when you pre-order the collector's edition of God of War Ragnarok, you get a Mjolnir, and there are runes on it, similar to the rune places, like you can slot things into your weapons in the previous game, has similar markings, like, I don't know, you'll be able to wield it and modify what it can do. Second thing that added to the theory, the more they talked about being able to press the triangle button and boom, infuse your axe with ice or your blades with fire, it's like, huh, that sounds like they're establishing the elemental identity of the weapons, a trifecta that really fits with most RPG games and fantasy games is you got fire, you got ice, you got lightning. Those are the three most common elements you're going to find in video games, and there's Mjolnir. Charge it up with lightning when you hit the triangle. Then we started looking at the actual trailer. It's like, well, you go to fight Thor, and your axe and Mjolnir seem to be evenly matched. They clink they clink together, and you come together. Mjolnir's right in the center of those shots. Then I watched this video, and the guy's like, yeah, you're going to be able to increase the combat depth of each weapon. Huh? Each weapon? Up to now, you guys have been talking about two weapons. That phrasing seems kind of interesting. Each weapon, as in more than two? So, I'm not hanging everything on this one word. I was just like, hey, wait a minute. We've got a lot of breadcrumbs up to this point that really point to the fact that we're going to get Mjolnir at some point. And this guy just potentially let it slip that there's more than two weapons. Because you wouldn't refer to a pair as each. You would refer to the pair as both weapons. Could be a new weapon for Atreus. No, they have a separate section where they talk about how Atreus has new magic, new abilities, and new combos. This section is about what Kratos can do. That's not how the game works. Even in the previous game, when Kratos gets new abilities and combos, it affects his weapons. And then Atreus has his own stuff. It's completely separate. Kratos getting stronger and getting new abilities has no effect on what Atreus can do. They're not related. Like at a mechanical level, they're not even touching each other. It'll be the lightning elemental weapon. Of course, we'll get to use it. Looks like dynamic looking content DLC. Random question with regards to Mjolnir. Can Mjolnir dent or break Excalibur? I don't know. Kratos literally climbed Mount Olympus, used Hephaestus' head as a lamp, slaughtered and took every god's weapon and or ability, but no way he does that to the Norse gods. East Coast Overlord with a $5 tip through Super Chat. I love that the show is popping off. Maybe we've been thinking about this all wrong. If Gotham Knights was DLC, then we would get 60 FPS. That's really what we needed, was Arkham Knight DLC. Maybe it would have been better. Could we get 23 more likes on the video? If you've been enjoying the show, here at Reforge Gaming, we do a daily talk show. We appreciate everybody tuning in for the latest God of War Ragnarok Combat news. They released a trailer, and we are kind of breaking it down and discussing the contents of it. I barely used art in the first... What? I barely used art except for the Stampede Boars. Oh, you're talking about Atreus' stuff in the first one? I would always forget to do his stuff. He could have wolves coming in and birds and stuff. I always forgot to use his stuff. I would just have him use his bow. I'd spam a guy, and the guy would get stunned, and then I would, wail on him. My girlfriend and her mom love the roast. Yo, Super Gaming. Tell all your friends if they love the coffee. It's really easy to order more. ReforgeRoast.com. Not bad. Helios. So what you're saying, Infinite, is there's a pattern of Kratos killing and taking weapons, so he'll do that to Thor. Is that what you're saying? Okay with being wrong. I said that I'm, I'm human. I love being wrong. Helps me grow. I would love God of War 1, 2, 3 Remaster for PS5. That would be incredible. Sold in a trilogy bundle. Okay, that's your argument. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was going to be the centerpiece debate of the morning. I thought, this will be a fun observation. I didn't know people would push back on it so much. Those of you pushing back on it, do you, at some level, though, do you still think we're going to wield Mjolnir? I mean, you can think that my theory is weak. That's fine. I don't really care about that. But I think all signs point to us wielding Mjolnir. I can't look at the game and the marketing and the collector's editions and be like, oh, yeah, no, we're just going to kill him and Mjolnir's going to, fall in the water and then that'll be the end of it. You know what I mean? Would you play a ground-up remake of God of War 1, 2, 3 with a new camera? Oh, I was like, with my new camera? What are you talking about? I don't know, honestly. I honestly don't know. I feel like there's a lot of games that if they get remade, we would play it and then a day later no one would care. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we get to wield the hammer. I think common sense makes it the most likely scenario, says Graydon. Now, the only problem with my theory, all right, if I'm going to press on my theory and find the weak points, this is one of the weak points of the theory, okay? They have said that Freya and Thor are the main antagonists, and they get as much screen time as Baldur. So what that means is that if we get Mjolnir, I can't imagine it being at the very, very end of the game. I think that would be kind of stupid, right? I think that would be kind of stupid. So I would imagine if we get Mjolnir, we would get it in the middle of the game. And what that means is that we either beat Thor in the middle of the game, which means then his screen time comes to an end, which means he would have to have a very front-heavy amount of screen time as an antagonist, which is very possible. We don't know yet how they structured it. Or it would require that we don't really beat him. We don't kill him, right? We whoop the tar out of him and we take Mjolnir, and then he goes running back to Daddy, and then we have to fight. Then Odin gets angry. I could see Kratos getting angry and using his rage to lift or use the hammer, but an entire skill tree built around it. How can what should be an overly OP weapon have upgrades? My guess is temporary use. But is it an overly OP weapon if our axe is equal to it, which they've basically concluded? They basically made that clear in the one trailer. The axe and the hammer hit. Kratos is a totally made-up god, so you see what I'm saying? So he could wield it. And yeah, Brock and Sindri could make adjustments to it. Do you know what I'm saying? they're kind of making their own rules. It's like, well, we've got our own God of War, and he has his own weapon that's apparently equal to Mjolnir. So, yeah, you can get Mjolnir and make adjustments to it. You know what I mean? What if we dual wield axe and hammer? That would be cool. They have to fit a lot in the story. They talked about how they needed to create a narrative that would have a gratifying ending. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. I feel like they love their story and their game too much to do that in a sloppy way. You know what I'm saying? I think we can't take anything they've said story-wise as true. They've gone out of their way to not even show the game much themselves. You can bet there's something big happening. I don't think that they've said things that are untrue about the story. Theory time. Do you think that Kratos and Atreus are being used by the giants, and in the end, we're the ones who end up killing them all in Jotunheim? I mean, we go to every realm, so maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing my best. I don't underestimate a trailer's ability to kind of trick us. Well, sure, but again, it's the centerpiece. It's not just the trailer. You can't just pick apart one piece, okay? So yeah, it's this. Mjolnir's been the centerpiece of the trailers. Mjolnir showed up. Their very, very first teaser was Thor throwing back a cape or a cloak, and then there sat Mjolnir and then lightning, okay? And then when you pre-order collector's editions, you get the hammer. You're just spitballing. No, I get it. And if you press on the theory, God of War, Ragnarok, Mjolnir. Let's go to the images of it. Do we have any good images of Mjolnir? Is that the same one? Yeah. There's a guy holding it here. They hold it up in a video. I don't want to have the obnoxious 4K. There we go. Oh, yeah. It's such a dead giveaway. So, look. It has 3 spots right here. And then it has 3 spots on the hilt. I can't look at that and not think, yeah, we're gonna get to wield that thing and modify it. Like I don't know how you look at that and not see that they've already told us that we get to wield it and do stuff with it. Yeah, runic attacks. Like like that looks like the runic stuff from the last game, doesn't it? Those are upgrade slots. Yeah, because you can upgrade. This up here probably, I don't know, upgrades the main attack. Maybe the center one upgrades the lightning, and maybe these two upgrade certain aspects of attack, and then down here maybe defensive stuff. I don't know. In a way, they give you 5 runic attacks on one weapon. I'm not saying 5 runic attacks, but the center one could be the runic attack, and then these two up here could have something to do with like maybe modifying it, and then these 3 could be something else. Halfway through the game, we beat Thor. Meanwhile, Freya is just descending into madness and corrupting the Valkyries. So now we join forces, not getting the hammer ourselves. No, I think we get the hammer. I don't see them giving you this for the God of War Ragnarok Collector's Edition, and this not being something that you come on. We're gonna be throwing that thing around. I can't even remember what version I ordered. I honestly can't remember what version I ordered. Was there a version without the hammer? God of War order on the 15th, I think. I ordered God of War Ragnarok Collector's Edition. It was $200. Does that come with the hammer? Does the $200 collector's edition come with the hammer? God of War Ragnarok collector's edition. It does? Okay. What was the one? There was a more expensive one. Wasn't there a more expensive one that came with more? Yeah. There's the collector's edition, and then there's the Jotnar edition that comes with, like, extra stuff. Yeah, I did just the collector's. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Jotnar comes with, like, an art book and little statues and stuff or something. It comes with, like, more stuff. I couldn't quite remember what was the difference between the two. Jotnar edition has a cloth map. Okay. All right, hang on. I've got more discussion questions. We can't spend the whole day talking about Mjolnir, all right? Let's talk about the Sony showcase. It seems to me that a lot of this stuff has been chopped up and is being delivered in a way that points to the fact that we are not getting a PlayStation showcase, right? I feel like we are not getting a PlayStation showcase at this point. What do you think about that? There are theories floating around that there is no PlayStation showcase because of the situation with, like, Microsoft and the CMA and the acquisition. And they want to be able to focus on that. What do you think about that? How is Mjolnir really going to change combat? Seems like it could feel like a reskin Leviathan axe with lightning. Kratos should get the Gungnir spear. Well, you have to understand something, though. It just because it's a hammer and an axe are similar in how you hold them, they would be completely different in what they're able to do. Because a hammer is more about impact and bludgeoning and shock and awe, and an axe is more about chopping and decapitating and slicing. Or yeah, if you get to dual wield. Dual wielding will be awesome. Someone said that 2 streams ago. Guess they were right. Yeah, there have been people saying that we're not getting a PlayStation showcase, and I thought that the rumor sounded kind of bad. It sounded kind of weak, you know. They're both throwables that return to you. I think you don't publicly complain about the possibility of exclusives while showcasing your dominant exclusives. No showcase, but we're still getting the games the whole year. That's what's more important. We all want to see what next. Yeah, Creature thought that they were trying to avoid the PlayStation showcase because he's like, you can't be really trying to establish complaint about exclusives and then you want to complain about exclusives. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, exclusives are bad, which isn't really their argument, but they know that the public doesn't really see the nuance of it, as evidenced by the incredibly brain-dead, stupid press coverage of the situation. How many YouTubers and, you know, I guess we could call them content creators at this point, you know, bloggers who write for these gaming outlets, how many of them completely have framed that debate poorly? So Sony could be saying, listen, the public and the gaming press continues to frame this as if we're hypocritical and we're anti-exclusive. And then we're going to walk out and do a showcase and talk about all of our exclusives. That might look kind of dumb, right? So the question on the table right now is, if you're just tuning in, the God of War Ragnarok Combat that we got to see in this video, the latest video, it seems as though we're going to slowly get information about Ragnarok in a series of videos, because they're referring to this as a God of War Ragnarok behind the scenes. This is episode 2, which I would imagine if it was just 1 and 2, they would just, you know, part 1, part 2. So there's probably more episodes on the way. So in my mind, this potentially points to no showcase, no PlayStation showcase. I'm new here. How's everyone doing? Welcome. We'll get a showcase, says Rich. I think they're trying to let Ragnarok breathe because it will sell. They don't need to market it. Afterwards, they will have to announce Elden Ring DLC in their partnership. I mean, there's a part of me that thinks, yeah, Ragnarok is so big, they're going to let Ragnarok launch, and then they'll do their showcase after, maybe sometime in November. That just feels really weird. You would automatically drive an insane amount of viewership to your showcase if Ragnarok was there in center stage. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be reasonable but logical, if I'm honest. I also really want that big, awesome sword. I want to wreck with that awesome thing. Well, right. I'm not saying that we won't get the sword. When the guy said each weapon, I mean, they could. Think about it. Because she says earth, wind, and fire and something else, right? Earth, wind, fire, and water. So we affect the water with the ice. We affect the fire with the blades. And then earth and wind. Well, wind feels kind of like something that Thor does with lightning and storms and stuff. And then earth, you're like picking up rocks and throwing them. So we're wielding a lot more than just ice and fire. So maybe there is a sword, and the sword would be maybe more earthy or something. I don't know. Yeah, the Blade of Olympus. Is there mythology around the Blade of Olympus that would classify it as like earth? Like an earthen weapon? I don't know, right? This guy said, don't be pedantic, but that's what it feels like his talks and theories are all about. No. Do you know the definition of pedantic? Because my theories are not being pedantic. Pedantic is when a person who excessively concerned with formalism and the accuracy and precision, one who makes an arrogant show of learning, also somebody who is sort of arguing a point just for the sake of arguing the point. Like, well, you can't really call that a fruit, or you can't really classify that as a football. Stuff like that's being pedantic. I'm theorizing based on breadcrumbs. You understand? Like, breadcrumbs and clues and theory crafting is not being pedantic. Like, you're using a word incorrectly. I thought it was fussing over one small thing. It can be fussing over one small thing. That is true. Like, if you really fuss over the finer point of something and hammer away at it, that can also be pedantic. But that's not what I'm doing. Like, I didn't formulate this theory around one video, one word. The video and the word is being added to it's like a link in a chain of a bunch of pieces that have led me to this point. Like, us wielding Mjolnir in God of War Ragnarok is not some new idea that I just came up with. We've been theorizing about this for months. Ever since we saw the very first trailer, ever since we've seen the collector's editions, we've continued to add to this theory. And when I saw that video this morning, I was like, that's a weird way to phrase it if you're just referring to two weapons. I think this guy just let it slip that, yeah, we're going to have more than two weapons. And many people said this morning that we get new weapons in every game. It's a pretty big moment. There's going to be a big moment in this game where we get a third weapon. So yeah, if I was theorizing the entire thing around this video in Word, you could maybe say, oh yeah, you're being a little pedantic, or you could just say you're reaching. But I've got a lot on the table. Like, if I was making my case before a judge and I was putting like all of my evidence on the table, I'd have like exhibit A, B, C, D, and E, and then exhibit F would be this latest trailer. I'd be like, yeah, this is another piece to our case that we're making. So, and that's just something that we do. We look at trailers, we look at videos, and we theorize. And when someone's going to be like, no, I don't think so, the shield is basically a weapon, that feels pedantic. It's like, well, yes, at some level you could argue the shield is a weapon. But trying to claim that in a trailer like this, the guy is thinking of the shield when he says weapons, I don't think makes any sense. I think Creature could be onto something. Avoiding the conversation couldn't hurt. However, I also don't think there's enough to showcase right now. God of War is huge, and everything else I can think of has either been delayed or still really early in development. I don't want a showcase of filler and teases. Yeah, we were thinking what you would do is, Suede, you'd have everything would orbit around Ragnarok. That would be the centerpiece of the showcase. And then you'd have the very first look of Spider-Man 2 gameplay, which I think they could probably have a vertical slice by now. Then we would have an expanded cinematic trailer for Wolverine. We might get to see his face. And then I don't know, anything else they feel like announcing, that's a pretty good showcase. Those are large titles. That's big things to talk about, right? They have 2 titles they don't want to talk about. One is a returning favorite. The other has been in work for 5 years. Right. Yeah, and then you have all the live service games. Exactly, Eugene. So the point is, though, I think Creature's onto something. If we're trying to apply public pressure about exclusives and market restrictive behavior, it's going to seem kind of tone deaf to walk out and be like, hey, here's all of our exclusives. And again, the gaming press and the gaming world is stupid for this, but stupid is as stupid does. They would walk out and be like, yeah, here comes Sony crying about Call of Duty exclusivity, and then they do a whole showcase about all their exclusives. Well, anybody saying that is a stupid person, but it would certainly happen. There's a lot of stupid people who can control the public narrative about games. Some of them write for really big organizations and put out videos all the time. They're dumb. They do it because it's an easy click farm. It doesn't have to be accurate or factual or have investigative nuance. It's just, well, they're being hypocritical. Okay, lowbrow, thoughtless Reddit take, but when you write that from your Twitter account and you write for IGN, well, then everybody takes it more serious. So, I mean, that could be part of this issue. It's like, Sony's like, we don't want to do a PlayStation showcase because it's just going to muddy our marketing waters. We want our marketing to be celebrated, not used as a weapon against us. I don't think the public narrative matters that much to the regulators. I don't think Sony's concerned about the regulators, Eugene. I think they're concerned about a PlayStation showcase not getting good press. It wouldn't get good press right now. A lot of these outlets would say, you know, in a very tone-deaf fashion, PlayStation comes out and showcases all their exclusives while they're actively fighting against exclusivity for Xbox. I guarantee you there would be headlines almost exactly like that. You know, PlayStation Showcase rings hollow amidst Sony fighting Microsoft over exclusivity as they showcase all of their exclusive titles. You would see all these headlines. Like, they don't want to give the press and the public that ability to kind of poo-poo their showcase, because, you know, right now all the headlines about PlayStation exclusives are negative. So, and if you look at what we're getting from God of War Ragnarok, these videos, like this latest one, the God of War Ragnarok Combat and Enemies Elevated, they're calling it episode 2 of Behind the Scenes series. I just have this weird feeling this was thrown together. I think this was meant to be the center case of the showcase. They were literally going to do like, all right, now we're going to talk about this. Boom, this video would have played. And then now we're going to talk about this. Boom, and then another video would have played. I think the PlayStation showcase was going to be like 45 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes of nothing but Ragnarok. And it's all been chopped up, and they're pushing it out like this now. Because these are behind-the-scenes things, and they're not putting them on... Well, do they put anything on the Santa Monica YouTube channel? I think they put everything on the PlayStation channel, so that's not really evidence of anything. Agreed, it's not the regulators, it's purely the optics of it. Anyone who's been paying attention knows that Sony's first-party titles are its bread and butter. They don't need that negative press right now. That's right. I think a showcase is baked into their annual marketing. They may need to alter, but I do think it needs to happen. Well, John, they're running out of time, because I don't think they would want to do it in December, because they like to show up and do things at the Game Awards. So it would be in November, which means... in my mind, the last possible date for a PlayStation showcase that will have a lot of Ragnarok would be next week, which means we will find out about it in the next 2 days. After that, I don't see it happening. It would be so weird to have Ragnarok launch and then what? I mean, I guess they could do it on the 16th or the 17th of November. Now that Ragnarok's out of the way, we really want to talk about next year, because you wouldn't want to do it the last 2 weeks of November, because then you're dealing with Thanksgiving and vacation and traveling and everything else. Like, you would want to do it before that happens. before Black Friday especially. Now, I mean, that might be something that they do. They wait until after Ragnarok launches, then they do a PlayStation showcase, and Ragnarok would be there, and there would be maybe like Black Friday specials, combo units or something for the holidays with Ragnarok. I don't know. When the lady says, my role as a VFX artist is to put the power behind the move, you are in control of fire and earth and water and wind. I understood that as her talking about her power as a developer. I don't think she was talking about Kratos. My role as a VFX artist is to put the power behind the move. You're in control of fire and earth and water and wind. Yeah. She might be talking about herself there. I don't know. And we do control fire, and we do control earth, and we do control water. The only one in there that we don't control is wind. We control fire with the blades. We control earth because he literally picks up a stone and throws it. That's a move he can do. And then he can control water. He can freeze it with the axe. So the only thing we can't control that we know of right now is wind. Which, I don't know. Maybe that's what we're harnessing with the shields when we do the big parry blast. Maybe it's a wind blast. I don't know. Am I the only one listening to Lono on Spotify, my everyday radio show for years now? Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. You didn't mention frost. Well, power over water. I mean, that's what frost and ice is. Ice is, at its core, water. Thor's hammer will control wind, calling it now. I mean, I could see that. It, it's got a feeling of like, oh, you can muster a storm and, storm clouds and lightning and thunder. It's interesting that he's the god of thunder and he's using a lot of lightning. Is it live on Spotify? No. We need to look into that again. I think there's a way to go live on Spotify simultaneous to here, but I don't know how to do it. I'd have to get something to restream it over there. There's probably a way to do it. I would think that Spotify would want us to do that because there's people that would listen over there. It would be easier for them to listen or watch. Our videos hit over there as video podcasts. If you look up Reforge Gaming on Spotify, you should be able to find, and they should be, if you type Reforge in search on Spotify, I got Reforge Gaming as the very first thing that popped up, and it's got God of War Ragnarok hands-on gameplay previews, and when I click on that episode, it's got the description. When I click play, that's not what I meant to do. Yeah, I'm not seeing the video. Does it take a while for the video to hit? Yeah, I'm not seeing the video. I think I just turned my music off. The God of War. Oh no, the video is there. It's there on sorry about that. You probably all of a sudden heard the episode. Yeah, no, the videos are there. I can't figure out how to do it on the mobile device though. Like, it's not showing me the video. Oh, it's probably because I was playing on the desktop, and so it's not going to show me the video. I'd have to switch it to playing on my mobile device, and then the video would be there. The video pops up on Spotify. Yeah, it's because I was using the Spotify app to control Spotify on my desktop, so it's screwed up. Photo mode will be coming to God of War Ragnarok after launch. We'll share more details closer to when we plan to release it. We can't wait to see all your captures. Oh, so photo mode won't be in there at day one. I always love photo mode for creating thumbnails. That's always like my favorite. Lono, I got YouTube Premium just so I can shut off my phone screen and listen at work while in my pocket. Yo, Newtonian, we really hope they start to give YouTube Premium people one free membership. Our memberships dropped a lot. We went from close to we had close to 3,000 members. Now we're at like 1,600 because so many of them were gifteds. So if you got gifted memberships in the past, we really need some of y'all to pick up your own memberships if you can. We can't keep relying on people to go bonkers with membership. That's not feasible. Some of y'all got to get committed and get involved. If you're here every day and you listen every day and you treat me like radio, and you can't afford it, it's $5 a month. I'm not hitting you with ads because that's not how live environments work. You got to support a live environment with membership if you're able, and then that'll free up space to people that can't afford it. We have very generous people, right? No, I get it, Newtonian. Some of you can't afford it, and that's fine. That's why we have gifting. That's why we have gifting. And the more people that jump in on their own, the more room there is in the pool for people who can't afford it, because we have very generous folks here. Have they ever talked about a free sub with it? The Valky Ray hinted that she heard that it's coming. So, good morning, Noble Beast. They never would have done a God of War Ragnarok only showcase. A state of play, sure, not a showcase. Yeah, Ragnarok would have just been the center. Ragnarok would have been the center of the showcase, but the showcase wouldn't have been Ragnarok. I think God of War Ragnarok would have been like a 30 or 40 minute centerpiece, and then they would have had other things to talk about. They would put the partnerships there, not first party. So Kojima's game, Deviation, Fire Spite. I don't think we'd see a major first party game shown for the first time there. At what? At the Game Awards? In lieu of the showcase, what are the odds they put the rest of the content out during the Game Awards? Spider-Man, Wolverine. Yeah, that'd be a good time to not have them talking about exclusivity, and then they can help, Keeley. They like Keeley. So, I could see that. I could see them saying, hey, let's give Keeley some love. If you guys have been enjoying the show, always remember to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell button. If you ever come to YouTube and I'm not on your home screen, make sure to check your subscription feed. There's a sub button at the bottom of the app, and there's a subscriptions button or like a bar on the left side that you can click on. Make sure you always check there. Sometimes YouTube will do updates and people will be like, I've not seen you live for like a week. And I'm like, I'm here every day. I could see them utilizing the Game Awards because then they could kind of dodge the bad press. Right? Because then it would be about the Game Awards and they would just be trailers. Now this combat reveal for God of War Ragnarok, if you put all that information together, it would have been your showcase. Well, that's fundamentally what I was saying, Corey. I think they would have done like a 30-minute part of the showcase all Ragnarok, and they would have gone from like one of these videos to the next. Because they're all, they all feel, they're baked together. Because they're calling this episode 2 of the God of War Ragnarok behind the scenes series, and this episode will explore how the team at Santa Monica is elevating the fluid and expressive combat of God of War Ragnarok, as well as the importance of building a unique, memorable, and varied cast of enemies for players to test their skill against. I feel like these videos would have been in the showcase, and then they would have published them separately after the fact. I'll renew on Friday. I had to drop Disney Plus. No worries. No worries. You have to understand that when I call for members, I'm talking to the people that could throw $5 at the channel. Like, they've got it, and they listen every day. If you're like, bro, I'm having trouble rubbing 2 nickels together, I'm not talking to you. That's why we have gifteds. That's why we have super generous people. Is that a Gearbox logo? Yeah, you got a good eye. You got a good eye. It's a mouse pad with 0 on it. Yeah. Came from Loot Crate back in like 2015. Yep. The mouse pad right here. And then I got my headphones. And that's my wife's microphone when I stream with her. The showcase will happen one way or another, either after God of War releases or even if we see the return of the PlayStation experience. They introduced the series on October the 18th, right? Introducing the God of War Ragnarok behind the scenes series. This is not some showcase video cut up. I don't know. I think they would have published all these things after the showcase, Eugene. You would have gone live with your showcase. Look how many people were theorizing that the PlayStation showcase was supposed to happen like end of September. And then we get in October and all of a sudden they start rolling out these blogs and videos. These videos would have been in the showcase, and then they would have published all these things separately and put the videos up on the website. They would have done what everybody does. Whenever you do like a showcase or what is a state of play, then they publish the trailer separately. 9 parts, like 70 minutes. Yeah, maybe not all 9 parts, 70 minutes. But wait a minute. Wait. Are there 9 blogs or 9 videos? Because if there's 9 episodes, they better get to hustling because there's not very many weeks left. Right? Is it going to be 9 blogs or just 9 videos? That would be my question. Nine videos, and the vast majority release after the game. Oh. They release after the game. Okay, then yeah, I mean, if they've got 9 episodes for 9 realms, no, because this is episode 2, and it doesn't have anything about any of the realms in it. I mean, it mentions the realms, but it doesn't zero in on a realm. So episode 2 breaks that theory, because it's like they're not even talking about a specific realm. Yeah, I would say then maybe this stuff wasn't cut out of a showcase like what some others are saying. Maybe they'll just shove that stuff elsewhere. I don't know. The real question would be, oh, some of them discuss spoilers. Okay. So 9, and we'll probably get 3 or 4 of them before the game comes out. We've already got episode number 2. What, you think they'll probably do one once a week, right? So we'll get another one next week, episode 3. Yeah, we'll probably only get 3 before the game comes out. Did you watch Raising Kratos? It was about the making of God of War 2018. This is like a broken up version of that. No, I've never watched that. Every Tuesday, says Barrier. Okay. So next week we'll get episode 3 on Tuesday. Doesn't have all the console features, no share button, no way to get back to the Steam dashboard, things like that. Oh, you guys are talking about something else. Sony has no time for the showcase. They're too busy saving COD on PlayStation. It's how it's done now, I suppose. The loudest and the most controversial voice gets the clicks and the views, regardless of if it's honest or an honest or genuine take. You guys really need to watch my reaction later. I react to that IGN review. He doesn't substantiate any of his points. I do my absolute best to eviscerate that review. Because he makes these big, broad claims at the beginning of the review. I'm like, well, let's see if he substantiates any of these big, broad claims. And he doesn't. He just says more big, broad things. It's like, it's underwhelming. Okay, can you substantiate why it's underwhelming? And he gets down in the blog, and he basically just says, it's underwhelming. It's like, okay. Did you take any writing courses or speech and debate courses? Because like this is not how you substantiate a claim. You have to watch Raising Kratos. I just don't have time for that kind of stuff. If to sit down and watch a 2-hour-long YouTube video, I just don't have time. Told you he had a lot to say, but it was a lot of nothing. Yeah, there was nothing substantiated, and then he seemed to disagree with himself. It was like, I think that we'll get a showcase when Ragnarok's hype dies down, and that could be months from now. I mean, I don't think Ragnarok's hype dies down months from now. I think Ragnarok's hype dies once we get to December. I don't think a single player game can maintain that level of hype for that long. The reason that Elden Ring was able to is because Elden Ring was just so big, so massive. There were so many secrets, and there was the replay, there was the New Game Plus. I don't think this thing is hyped for months. I don't agree with that. I mean, I'm really excited, but I don't think so. No. If you had to pick Kratos versus Thor, who would you choose? I mean, obviously I would pick Kratos. I don't have any connection to the real Norse mythology Thor. I don't have any connection to him. Elden Ring also dropped at a good time. Yeah, Elden Ring dropped and like nothing happened for months. I think Ragnarok will retain hype longer because of the consoles being produced. I don't think it'll maintain hype to the point that Sony won't want to talk about anything else. That's what he was saying, right? Like, I don't think the hype lasts that long that it's going to take a couple of months before they want to talk about anything else. I don't agree with that. They're going to want to set the table for 2023 at some point. I don't feel them waiting till like January to do that. I feel like they're going to want to do it end middle of November, middle of December. They're going to have to. I agree with that. It's not going to keep them quiet. Right. I mean, it's super subjective. Like, what exactly are we saying? Like, how long the hype lives? I don't even know. By the way, guys, if you missed the announcement, this snazzy new shirt is from Into the AM. We are still working with 80s tees, obviously, but if you periodically see me in a shirt that doesn't look like an 80s tees, maybe it looks like more like an artistic graphic tee or streetwear, intotheam.com/Lono, or just use code Lono at intotheam.com. That'll get you a discount. That'll support me. New sponsor. Very excited. They sent me a bunch of shirts. They do new shirts I think she said every week or every 2 weeks. So, and they don't keep them forever. They rotate shirts in and out fairly quickly, it seems. God of War Ragnarok will start to fade in hype by Thanksgiving. God of War will sell more than Elden Ring copies in one and only platform. I don't think so. Maybe in the long run, yes, but not initially, no. No, I don't think so. I don't think you can compete with a multi-platform game that does well in both the West and the Asian market. I don't think that Ragnarok can sell more than Elden Ring in the first couple of weeks. It'll take a while. I think Ragnarok might be able to catch up and surpass them, but they're going to need, that will be in conjunction with PlayStation 5 distribution. Like, you're going to need to get PlayStation 5s distributed, and then that'll boost some Ragnarok sales. And then you'll get some more distributed, and then that'll boost Ragnarok sales. So I definitely think that, yes, eventually there is the chance that a title this big could catch up. But I think it's going to take a while. A multi-platform title, like multi-generational, multi-platform title, that does well in the Western market as well as the Asian market, like Elden Ring as a From Software title, that's a really, really hard game to compete with. What are they sitting at? Like 16 to 17 million total sales right now? That's insane. That's so many. Like, they've really done an excellent job with their game. Like, it really, really got good distribution. So, I think Ragnarok's going to be amazing. I think it's going to have great sales, but I don't see it surpassing Elden Ring. It's not immediate. There's no way. Even in the first month, I don't see that happening. Because I think one of the barriers for Ragnarok is a lot of people are going to wait until they get their hands on a PS5. They're going to wait. They want to get their hands on a PS5 first. And PS5 saturation will make it a slower burn of sales in some demographics of the audience. Because there will be people that say, I'm not buying that until I can have my hands on a PS5. Right? If you're tuning in for the latest God of War Ragnarok Combat, we've been discussing it. I believe there's clues in the video about how we will get to wield more than just 2 weapons. That means potentially Mjolnir. Make sure and hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat if you've got questions or comments about the latest video. God of War Ragnarok Combat and Enemies Elevated is the video that we were discussing this morning. It's going to take a while with PS5 install base. Yeah. 2018 sold 10 million in the first year. Yeah. What you're saying is 13% of the PlayStation player base is not going to play God of War Ragnarok. I mean, that again, I think the struggle is going to be, we're talking in the first month. I do think, yes, eventually a healthy percentage of the PlayStation player base will get God of War Ragnarok, which then means they'll surpass Elden Ring. But Elden Ring had such quick commercial success and was available on so many platforms. Oh, you mean long term? I said long term it will pass it. I was very careful when I first answered this question. I said, I don't think it surpasses it in the first weeks or the first month, but eventually it will potentially surpass it, especially once PS5 circulation gets better. Like, every time PS5s populate the market, they're going to see a surge in interest in Ragnarok. I think Ragnarok is going to probably have a struggle in that first month because there's tons of people that are going to say, I don't want to buy it until I have a PS5. Only take 15% of the player base to blow by 15 million. And 15% of the player base that's a lot of people. I mean, that's a healthy number. In the first month, I would imagine you get half of that. I bet you get about 7 million sales in the first month. I don't think they're going to surpass the 10 million. I don't think so. The 10 million, what 2018 hit 10 million or whatever, like, is that total or has it gone? Hang on. Long term, though, 2018 sold around 20 million over 5 years. Okay, yeah, so 20 million. Yeah, again, I think early adoption for the brand new sequel, yeah, I can see a third of that 20 million just automatically jumping in. Yeah, around 7 million. I think a third of those people just jump in right away. I don't know. Getting half of that in the first month, that's a crazy conversion. 20 million people over time bought God of War 2018. Getting half of those people to buy the sequel immediately in the first month, that's an insanely healthy conversion rate. I just don't know. I would see a third, it being about a third of that. Because there's so many people that are going to say, I want that game, I don't have a PS5 yet. I want Ragnarok. I don't have a PS5 yet. Look at how many times, as soon as PS5s repopulated the market, Forbidden West had a huge surge in sales. It's going to be the exact same way with Ragnarok. There was reports about that. They said every time they repopulate, every time there was a PS5 restock, there was this huge jump in Forbidden West sales. And Zero Dawn did very well, and it didn't have that kind of conversion. It had great commercial success, but then its success continued to get a bump every time PS5s repopulated. PlayStation fan base loves to play and buy games. No one's waiting for this game. All stats point to the fact that there will be people that wait for this game. There will be. Like, all of their first-party titles see a huge bump every time they repopulate the market with PS5s. That means the PlayStation player base is waiting to buy the new titles until they have a PS5. It's a thing that's happening. It's measurable in the market. God of War Ragnarok is not immune to that reality. There will be tons of people that don't buy until they get their hands on a PS5. It's a measurable market trend already within the PlayStation user base. It's not like people are doing that with all the other first-party titles like Spider-Man and Forbidden West, but God of War is going to have nobody doing that. I know Kratos is big. I know Ragnarok's going to be a huge game. There's going to be a percentage of people that are like, nope, not buying it until I get my hands on a PS5. Part of that's because the PS5 is bundled with Horizon. No, those boosts. No, you're misrepresenting it, Logic. That's not true. The boost in Forbidden West numbers was before they were doing the bundles. It was a measurable market trend. Every time they did a PS5 restock, Horizon Forbidden West saw this crazy spike in sales. The bundles came later. This was a report way earlier in the year. That's not true. God of War is Sony's Mario. It will not fail. No one's saying it will fail. I'm being realistic. I don't think Ragnarok gets more than about 7, maybe 8 million sales in the first month. God of War Ragnarok will have sold over 10 million units years out, I would think. The core God of War players are buying this day one, a good 4 million plus. Right. I'm saying first month is 7 million. I think first month is 7 million. And the NPD numbers, as far as I know, don't include bundled sales. Yeah, I'm not saying it will fail. I'm saying it's going to be massively commercially successful. I'm pushing back on the notion that it's going to blow Elden Ring out of the water. It's like, no. Elden Ring was very commercially successful. It was also multi-platform. I think Ragnarok will catch and surpass Elden Ring, but it will be in conjunction with PS5 market saturation. God of War Ragnarok will surpass 20 million in 2 years. Yeah, it'll take that amount of time. It'll be like a bar graph that goes lock in step with PS5. There'll be a big spike, and then it'll have these little bumps every time there's a PS5 restock. Sequels 99% of the time outsell their previous games. What was the first month of sales for 2018? I don't know. I don't know. I also don't know if that's a fair measurement, because there was a lot more time between 2018 and the previous God of War. This is a 4-year difference, and a lot of people are stuck in the middle of the generational shift. They're in the valley. They don't have a PS5 yet. 5 million? You think 5 million first month? I'm saying 7 million tops. I'm not saying it will be 7 million. I'm like, I can't see them getting more than 7 million. 5 million was what 2018 got. This is a first day pick for me. It'll be a marathon to overtake Elden Ring, since it's not multi-platform. Right, that's what put us on this path, MJ. It's definitely a marathon to overtake Elden Ring. Elden Ring's sitting at 16 plus. 16 million. There's no way Ragnarok runs that number down in the first month. There's just no way. I don't think people can fathom how big that number is. You're basically saying that 90% of the people who bought God of War over the span of 4 years, you're like, yeah, 90% of those people are going to immediately buy the sequel. That's a crazy conversion rate. I don't think so. That's too many people in the first month. Especially since the hype for 2018 was insane. God of War sells 5 million in its first month. Yeah. They'll surpass that. Yeah, I think this time they hit around 7. Yeah. 5 million in the first month for God of War 2018. I can't see them quadrupling that this time. That's no way. No way. This game's big. The hype around it's big. It's highly anticipated. They are not quadrupling their previous first month sales with 2018. There's just don't you see now? 2018 hype was massive. They sold 5 million. That was crazy. That was big. And 4 years later, there's no way they quadruple that. And yeah, 20 million in the first month. No way. Previous video was released by Santa Monica, described how they're anticipating new players that never even played 2018 because of the hype of 2018. They will surpass the 5 million, no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. It's going to be 7. Hope all is well. Would love to have you come and pick up a pie. Bring home. Let me know if you can make it. Thanks for the invite. Won't be able to make it. Last of Us 2 has been breaking records all year long. Starting the first 3 days of its release. The game sold 4 million copies in the first 3 days, making it the fastest selling PS4 exclusive of all time. That tells me God of War is going to be more like 6 to 7 million. That's where I landed. I'm telling you, I looked at that number. I said 20 million. I said, I bet you they hit about a third of that in the first month. 7 million that's why I picked that number. It's about a third of the 20. Are you planning to cover stuff that comes out after November the 3rd? Very likely the internet's going to be full of leaks. No, we will not be covering any God of War leaks. No, There's no reason to do that. Do you think there might be a weaker sale due to the PS5 availability? Because honestly, if I was going to play the game, I would make sure that I had a 5 and not a 4. No, I don't think it falls below 2018. No, I don't think it falls below 2018 because of the lack of PS5s. I don't think so. Diablo 4 outsells them both. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Golly. Diablo 4 is going to break the dadgum internet. That's not a fair comparison. That's not a fair comparison. Yeah. Longer standing franchise. So many platforms. It's globally popular. Jiminy Christmas. Diablo 4 is going to be bonkers. So I'm not in that crowd. I think a ton of people will buy it on the PS4. Yeah. How did Forbidden West do in sales? That was available on both. Yeah, Forbidden West, we could look at the first month of sales for Forbidden West for sure. That could be a that could be one worth. That's one worth looking at. I had my phone turned down. What in the what? Oh no, I turned it up to listen to that episode on Spotify. I was like, what is happening? Forbidden West took a hit because of Elden Ring. That is true. Forbidden West was up against Elden Ring. I'm in the minority because I'm not buying crap until they release a PS5 Pro. Not a game, not a controller, not a thing. I'll be waiting for a while. I think your Pro is holiday of 2024. PS5 Pro, holiday 2024. Because they want all next year to be about PS5 distribution. They don't want to hurt that. They don't want a single blip to hurt the PS5 distribution next year. So, dadgummit. That's stupid. That I gotta replace that battery backup. It's not a big deal. It freaks me out. It like flickers. Off topic, but I'm looking into pulling the trigger on getting a PS5 to replace my PS4. What do you recommend games? Because I play a lot on PC. Once you get a PS5, if you like Rogues, I think Returnal is one of the greatest games I've ever played. Director's Cut of Ghost of Tsushima would be my next recommend. Horizon Forbidden West. If you've never played The Last of Us, you must play The Last of Us Remake. God of War 2018, if you've not played it, it got a wonderful update on the PS5. That'll keep you busy. That'll keep you real busy. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Definitely that one too. Definitely Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Yeah, I believe that Returnal should have won Game of the Year. The minute that Returnal was outside of the West, it won Game of the Year at the BAFTAs. Because you didn't have Deathloop corrupting the nominations. Such an unworthy game. Good game? Sure. 10 out of 10 game worthy of Game of the Year nomination? No. Not close. Off topic, just saw... Yeah. The Canis Majoris codename is a remake. Yep. I don't know if we'll cover that here. That'll hit the updates channel. We'll figure out as much as we can and break it down. Couldn't get into Returnal. I tried, just not for me. Rogues are tough to get into, and I'm not a big fan of Rogues. So me picking Returnal as my game of the year was a pretty significant thing. Yeah, Demon Souls, but Demon Souls is a hard recommend because it's still an old FromSoft game. It's beautiful, but the structure of that game is so dadgum irritating. Like if you've played Elden Ring and you go try to play Demon Souls, it is just absolutely irritating. The structure of that game is irritating the way they've got it set up. It drove me nuts the last time I tried to play it. Oh, you died. Hopefully you like hiking all the way back here. Ugh. That old format is just tired. Like an old worn out boot. Come on. You like it more than Elden Ring? Demon Souls is beautiful, but the combat feels clunky. It's so clunky, it feels like there's input delay. And there's not input delay. But it's so clunky that that's what it feels like to me. And the whole, you died, now you've got to rerun through 15 minutes of gameplay to get back here. Frick all the way off with that. I think that's tired. You know what I mean? It's just tired. It was fine back then. It's kind of like when you go back and play classic Nintendo games, and the replay value comes from the fact that they're brutal, punishing, and hard, and you got to start all the way over so much. Demon Souls is more arcadey. I mean, can we get 15 more likes on the video? Let's aim for 500, guys. It's always super helpful when we get a lot of likes on the video. Let me throw out another discussion question. Let's get us back on track here. So they talk a lot about combat depth and choice. And I don't know about you, but in God of War 2018, I kind of fall into a rut. And let me explain what I mean. Once you start investing in a build and abilities, it becomes difficult to expand into other abilities because they haven't been leveled up, and you sort of feel like you're being set back the minute that you change, okay? So, can all of this combat depth and all of these choices, can it actually be a bad thing? Can it create choice paralysis? Can it create, metagaming? Can it create ruts? Because I always felt frustrated by that in the previous game. Like, well, I've invested in this one particular attack. I've leveled it up quite a bit and I like it. I just got this new one, but it's not been leveled up. So you almost always look at the new and you contrast it against what you've already invested in, and it always feels like it's less than. I'm not saying that's going to be true in God of War Ragnarok, but as they were outlining all those choices and the shields and the abilities, I thought, man, oh man, I really hope it doesn't feel like the last game where, well, why would I switch? I've already invested in all of this. It feels like I'm setting myself back. More choice is always better in my opinion, plus they also give you plenty of XP to level up everything all of the way. Same thing happened in Forbidden West. I couldn't enjoy it as much. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's a flaw. I'm saying that if you want me to do it, you have to make it less painful. I shouldn't feel like I'm resetting myself by switching to something new that I just unlocked. They said that you rank up moves based on how much you use them. Right, so does that mean then when I get a brand new ability, I've got to start using it to level it up? I can't just dump XP into it to make it easy or to make it equal to what I've already been using. Choice paralysis definitely exists though. I feel it all the time in games like this. I feel it very, very consistently. Yep, a sequel needs to be substantially different from the previous games. I think good design can make it feel better and even incentivize it. A valid concern nonetheless. Paul is saying you force the change, lose access to a said weapon. No, see, my issue was like I would get like a runic attack all the way leveled up, and then I would find a new one, and I wouldn't even look at it. I'd be like, it's not leveled up. I already have a really nice runic attack. I've leveled it up, and I like it. The utility difference between these is minimal. Why am I gonna switch and then be like, well, yeah, and now I got to spend a bunch of XP just to level it up? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't. I'm not saying it's a flaw. I'm just saying I really graded against that in God of War 2018. Like, this thing's working great for me. Do I need the new thing? Does it serve a new utility? Is it inherently stronger than what I have now? No, it's essentially the same. It in essence is achieving the same thing, but then in order to buff it up, I'm going to have to spend a bunch more of XP. That's unappealing to me. How do you handle narrative choices in RPGs then? Must be tough to pick the best one. Yeah. Choice paralysis is a thing. You want to know what the worst thing that RPGs do? You want to know what the worst thing they do? Which class do you want to play as? And you go through and you painfully read every single one, and you have no idea the impact it will have on the game. You're like, I don't even know. I can't stand that. It's like, well, and then you pick one, and then you get 2 hours in, and you're like, I don't like my class. I didn't know the game was going to feel this way. I didn't know the enemies were going to behave this way. I wish I would have chose this other one instead. Sometimes a direct sequel does very little new and is still nearly 100% awesome. Majora's Mask, Metroid Prime 2, Mario Galaxy 2. Granted, that's big Nintendo, and today's market is extra complaining. Yeah. Lono doesn't like reading. I hate picking classes and being stuck. That's what I mean. Like, you experience choice paralysis. You're like, I don't know. I don't know if this is a good class. I don't know if it's going to help me in combat or how much stealth I'm going to be doing. I haven't played the freaking game yet. That's the difference between the way I play games and other people. I can't pick up a new weapon or skill and not use it right away. I mean, I definitely feel that pull, the new shiny thing. I want to use the new shiny thing. I 100% feel that pull. But at the same time, when you have a kit that's working, it can be a little frustrating to be like, well, time to completely change my kit. Now I got to spend more XP. Now I got to spend more this. Now I got to spend more that. And then you end up in this weird spot of, I was really enjoying this thing that I was using, and now I want to try this new thing. Well, the only way this new thing is going to be even worth touching is if I invest in it. And so it's almost like these weird little short, rhythmic, soft resets. You know what I'm saying? These little short, rhythmic, soft resets of, you've got a new thing. It's not as good as the thing that you have now. You have to level it up. That just feels weird in a game like this. You create incentive for the Switch, enemies that are weak to the new weapons or something like that. Right, and I always struggled with that in God of War 2018. I was like, the runic attacks all felt a little samey, so it didn't make sense to suddenly weaken myself and think about it. If I dump XP into that runic attack, it's not going into something else. You're diverting, stalling, or slowing my progress. For what? For something new. And it doesn't necessarily feel stronger. It doesn't necessarily feel, like it's got more punch or more strength or more, veracity. Can anyone tell me the company for the shirt that Lono's wearing today? I forgot the name and it's not in the description. Into the AM. You can use the shirt command. And it'll take you there. You can go to intotheam.com/Lono, or just use code Lono when you go to intotheam.com. Just remember to use code Lono, or just add /Lono to the end. It'd be amazing if tons of people clicked on that link. Let them see hey, that community buys shirts. Hey, click on links. 4 months from AOZ. Thank you so much. That's a tier 3 membership as well. A lot of great names. There is no live channel that is gamer-centric as this one. I recommend buying a membership for the members' content and community that comes with it. Thank you for that recommendation. I wonder what happens when you click on that link. Many Christmas. Campaign, Reforge Gaming. Oh, so yeah, it does. Yeah, they do that thing that the other site does. If you spin to get a discount, you got to use my code or I don't get credit. Well, no, I guess if you use my link and then you spin and get a bigger discount, I would still get credit for your purchase because you use my link. Random, but your background setup might be the best one I've seen any gaming channel. Minimalistic, and the neon is dope. Thank you. I appreciate that you've noticed the minimalism. That's something that I really fought for. Picked up 3 shirts just now. Starting prices are reasonable. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. We love to see our sponsors get support. I'm hoping to hop on the phone today with a potential new sponsor as well. Yeah, if you don't, I'm tempted to disable the displate command. I mean, if you want to order our displates, great, but we're not in the greatest position with displate, so I want to try to get in contact with them again. The guy that I was dealing with, I don't know what, it was really bad and unprofessional, so we're hoping to maybe get into contact with somebody else there. On the wall is that soundproofing. This is sound foam, mostly for show. That's not doing anything in comparison to what that's doing. That's thousands of dollars professional studio sound dampening done by a guy that soundproofs recording studios. Those things are on 3 of my 4 walls, and then above me there's 2 on the ceiling. There's a gray one there, and then there's a gray one above. My studio sounded amazing. This didn't change anything. That's for show. Now, there are people that buy that and it helps, but that right there that's nothing. That's like $100 worth of stuff compared to what I had done to the room. I had one wall, 5 inches of soundproofing added, by a construction company, and then I had this guy come in and sound dampen. So if you snap, if you scream, if you yell, you could light off a firecracker in here. There'd be no echo at all. So people buy this stuff because it looks nice and it does help, but it ain't doing what the stuff on the walls is doing. There's an even bigger one too. These are skinny. So these are skinny. Then there's a fat one in the middle, 2 more skinny ones. Then on this back wall that you guys can't see, there's squares. There's square ones. Then there's skinny ones here. The ones up here are like a lighter gray, and it's like the size of a card table, just bolted to the ceiling. And then another one over there. Those bars also help with the lighting. Yeah, because it doesn't, it's just not just a giant bland wall. Like if Creature wanted to do this and I didn't have that stuff on the wall, I think that would look terrible. It would just be a white wall. You know what I mean? It wouldn't look cool. What's the second show about? Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer overview. They've released everything, and we're just going to read through it. It might be a shorter show. Depends on how it goes. It is a lot. It is a lot of info. I can't do a short breakdown. I'm literally going to pull it up, and we're going to read through it. It's unbelievable. It's a ton. When does God of War Ragnarok release? You've asked that 3 times in chat. Now, you genuinely don't know? There you go. Pre-order now. 11/9/2022. Surprised to have somebody in a Ragnarok stream that doesn't know that. November the 9th. November the 9th. I don't mind answering questions. That's just that's crazy that you didn't know. It was announced a couple months ago, wasn't it? I think it was. No, I'm never going to tell somebody to use Google. It just was like, my gosh. We have people sometimes come in and spam questions, and sometimes I think they're just trolling. You know what I mean? Okay. So, I'm going to quickly run upstairs and use the restroom and stretch my legs. We got more content coming. Don't go anywhere. Again, we're going to continue to call on people to do their own memberships. It's a little teeny tiny bit concerning that nobody ever does. Like nobody responds to that. We've got to consider that, all right? The guys that have gone crazy generous with gifting members, I am not going to expect that every month, right? If you can't afford it, then the best thing to do is be here as often as you can, and you might get it gifted. It gifts members according to loyalty, and we do have some very generous people. But we really need to start seeing people jump in on their own. We can't have thousands of jump in members, and then they just all fall off and no one jumps back in, all right? We need folks to jump in, get committed. If you're a member, get in that members-only Discord, and stay tuned for members-only content every single day. Our next show is going to be big. There's a lot of info coming out. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Sorry, we have like friends. There's this family that we help out every once in a while, and we watch their kids, and they're the sweetest kids. And like I go upstairs, and they're outside, and it's a little chilly, so they're outside and they're in coats and stuff. They're just having fun, and literally, it was like this perfectly timed moment. The youngest kiddo grabbed one of those little red berries off one of the bushes, and I don't know, if it would do anything to you, but why risk it, right? And I'm like, oh, I bet you he tries to eat this because he's a little guy. And he literally looks at it and he goes like this. So I'm like, and I hit the window and I open the window. I'm like, buddy, don't eat that. Buddy, don't eat that. And he was fine. He didn't get scared or anything. He just dropped it. My wife was around the corner and, couldn't see him. So I was like, that's the last thing we need is somebody getting sick or like, getting a bellyache or something because they're eating something. Callisto Protocol hands-on breakdown. Oh my gosh, Callisto Protocol was better than we hoped. Oof, that might be. We got to do that tomorrow. How long is that vid? I'll put that in React holding and gaming topics. I told people, 8 minutes. I told folks, I said, I'm telling you, man, Callisto's coming. That Dead Space remake just does not look that good. It just doesn't. It does not. Just snagged 2 shirts. Thank you, Xanatos. I always love when we get a new deal like that, and then we look impressive. You know what I'm saying? So I'll email them today, and I'll show them the clip of the integration. And it's always nice to start a new relationship with a sponsor and to just look really impressive, to like sell a bunch of shirts first day. So that's exciting. The only game that caught my attention at the gaming show, Callisto. I'll gift a few this Friday. I already spent my previous fun money on the costume party. I appreciate that, TJ. I appreciate that. And here's the thing. Like, I get transparent with people because I think that's the right thing to do. Like, with respect to membership, I'm just like, listen, y'all. What we do is look at the size of my channel. Seriously, look at the size of my channel. This channel is not living off of ad revenue, okay? A 21,000 sub channel, I'm not doing this professionally all week long because of ads. Like, we don't have a channel that size. We don't hit viewership of those thresholds. So, and they still haven't figured out shorts. So it's great to see those shorts hitting 50 and 60,000 views, but those things generate nothing, Sure. Yeah, if you guys missed the announcement, you can see it a little bit better on this angle. We got a brand new shirt. We're still working with 80s Tee, so you can still continue to use my code over there and get 30% off. These shirts are very different. They're more graphic tee art style, streetwear. They go like, I have all over prints, and they rotate their shirts regularly. So you can use my code there, get 10% off. So yes, we are working with Into the AM. So, and with the Gunners, with Gunner Optics, for now, that you can use that link, but I would, maybe if you're looking for some glasses, just hold. I would really focus on the shirts and the coffee. We got 2 shirt companies we're working with, and then we've got, we've got the coffee company. We got our own coffee. I'm sorry, it's our coffee. We're not working with the coffee company. It is ours. Is the code limited to just the shirts? No, use my code over there for anything. Into the AM has a bunch of stuff. It's not just the shirts. It's not just the shirts. How has Ragnarok changed your views on story so far? I mean, I don't think I ever really viewed the story in a particular way. I didn't have expectations, so they've not really done anything that's changed my mind or altered my view. I've been basically pumped and excited about this game from moment one. Because I thought 2018 was a dadgum masterpiece. And I played that at 30 FPS, and loved every minute of it. It gave me headaches. I'm not being silly or exaggerating. Like I genuinely got headaches from playing Ragnarok. I'm sorry, from playing Spider-Man and God of War. So I'm excited to play Ragnarok without any of that. Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer overview. So we've got everything about this game's multiplayer in a very exhaustive post that we're going to be combing over. Yep, Halloween on Monday. We're very excited. My wife and I aren't dressing up this year. It just wasn't ever worth it. The kids love it, and we can just walk with them and not worry about it. Okay. There we go. Okay. Close that. Another year older on Monday. Happy birthday. By the way, to the people that have been sending Legos for my birthday and for the Lego channel, the wish list still has stuff on it, but if it tier 2 members and above got a sneak peek, we're 2 videos in already. They got a sneak peek of the Peace Organization. So if you upgrade to a tier 2 membership or higher, you can see that in the Discord VIP room reserved for tier 2 members and above, and you can also see that on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has that post as well. There is a stream after this. We are getting ready to go to it right now. I'm going to put a link in chat. I will redirect you guys. Do me a favor. Tons of you come over, but we really struggle with likes on the second video, and it can hurt us because there's so many of you, and it looks like the likes are too low. So make sure when we go over to the second stream to smash the heck out of that like button. If the redirect typically doesn't work for you, then use the link in chat, or you can go back to the main page of this channel, and it will be the featured video. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. We're going to be combing through the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer overview. We are very, very excited about this. We covered the skill-based matchmaking recently, and we are really, really excited to cover the Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer overview. It's a whole blog post about it, and I have realized that I mislabeled and mistitled the stream, so I'm fixing that right now very, very quickly. We had the wrong names and titles, and it has now been fixed. I'm going to bring over people from the previous stream. I'm going to comb through the whole multiplayer overview in this video. I'm going to bring over people from the stream about God of War. I'm going to redirect them over, and we are going to dive right into this. It's a very, very lengthy